Holy crap.
People persist in doubting the evidence.
Don't run and hide. Don't be afraid. Don't turn away any longer. The truth will set you free.
You're listening to Jimmy Church Fade to Black.
All of our antennas towards Jimmy Church.
And now, your host, the captain of conspiracy, the prince of paranormal. This ain't your daddy's radio network show. This is Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
All right, here we go. Welcome. Let's do this, man. This is Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. Today's Wednesday, February 11th. 42 days into the new year. We have 323 days left. As you know, we are live from the truthfunders.com studios right here in Burbank, California. Do you have a book, an expedition, invention, or paranormal documentary you need to get funded? Go to truthfunders.com. Truth Funders, the number one source of backing your project into the fringe. Go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on Truth Funders. It's right there. Do it. Support the fringe. For KJCR and the Game Changer Network, I am your oh-so-humble host, Jimmy Church. Yeah, and I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States, hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, north and south, east and west, far and near. This is Fade to Black. Big salute to the proud men and women in uniform, fighting the good fight for us, defending our right to freedom of speech. For without them, there is no me, there is no you, there is no us, and you could not hear me right now. Think about it. Tonight on the show, live from Switzerland, Erich von Daniken. And for without Erich, there is no me. There is no you. There is no us. Think about it. He'll be with us shortly, live from Switzerland. It's going to be like 4 a.m. Oh, man. Erich is 80 years old, and watch him tear it up tonight on the show. It's going to be awesome. The podcast, thank you for supporting the show. $2 a month. That's it. Podcast companies like, Jimmy, man, you need to raise your prices. You're too cheap. I said, man, I would do this for free. If you weren't sticking it to me, I'd stick it to the man. I'd do it. But you know what? We need it for the show. Everything. The expense of running this thing. Yikes. But, you know, we get it done. We get her done. You know, there's no Lamborghini outside. Nothing like that going on here. So, you know, $2. Support the show. Just go over to jimmychurchradio.com, click on podcast. Get over Libsyn right there. Great podcast company. We have some really cool apps that are done custom for, you know, Apple, Android. I think, is Kindle covered? I don't know. Maybe. You know, for your tablets, it's all there. It's really cool. So help support the show. All right. Where are we? Studio Dome tweeters, or Studio Dome tweeters, Studio Dome speakers, good tweeters too. Studio Dome Bluetooth speakers, the SD1. There's a promo going right now for you Fadernauts for a little while longer. Enter promo code Jimmy. Go over to jimmychurchradio.com, click Studio Dome right there. I got email. I got it yesterday. I didn't read it on the air. They were like, Jimmy, man, I don't see the banner. I'm like, you don't see the banner? How could you not see the banner? Made me wonder about it because I was the one that said, hey, man, let's do this really cool black banner. Well, I don't know if that was the right choice. Anyway, the banner is black. SD1. You'll see the speaker. It's right there, Studio Dome. It's, I think it's right below the, right below the audio player. Or no, the other players are below the audio player. So it's probably below that. Or it's above, but it's right there. Just go and click. Enter promo code Jimmy. Get $40 off the list price, $99.99. $59.99 is all you're going to pay, and you're going to get free shipping. All right? Do that. All Fadernauts need one of these. And you know what? If you got like a little mouse running around the house, maybe a critter, you know, some kind of beast from the woods, this right here will take them out. That's it. Wing it if you can pitch. All right. TalkStream Live. Click. If you are listening on TalkStream Live, click twice. Click. TalkStream Live. Let's show the competition out there what's really going on. I think last night, nationwide in our time slot, we peaked out at number 4. 4. I want that number 1 slot. I want to knock Michael Savage out of there. I don't even know Michael. Why would I even say that, Michael? You know, I'm sure you have a fine show. Never listened to it. But, yeah, man, we want number 1. We do. TalkStream Live. We now have TuneIn. And I'm not joking about this. iHeartRadio is right around the corner. We got Spreaker. Life is good in Fade to Black Land. All right. Excited. Tonight, Erich von Daniken will be joining us at the bottom of the hour. And then, after Eric, we might have a special surprise guest. And I'm only saying that because Eric's 80 years old. So we'll see, we'll see how long he can hang at 4 a.m. from Switzerland. And I told the special guest, I said, look, just listen to the show. And as soon as you hear Eric and I end, jump in. So we will see if we have the time tonight for that. I think we will. All right, let's get this show cracking. Is everybody ready? How is Twitter tonight? Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. It's what you want to do. At J, letter J, at J, letter J, at JChurchRadio. At JChurchRadio. Hashtag F2B. Come hang out in the sandbox. All the Fadernauts are there. Last night was out of control. That was a lot of tweeting. Also, over in Spreaker, I want to say hi to everybody that's in the little comment chat room that's over there. Last night in Spreaker, there was, I think, I'll have to go back and look, but the number was like there was 500 comments in there. 500. And you combine that with what's going on in Twitter, and also TuneIn has got their own setup going, and then you got your TalkStream Live action. The numbers are off the hook, and I watched this, and I'm looking at all of these combined. I'm just like, wow, this is just amazing. So I want to say hi to everybody in each little spot. How you doing over in Spreaker? I did go and read a bunch of the comments that were made, and I mean, it's a crazy amount of stuff, and it's humbling to see that. Just amazing. Thank you. All right. Where am I? At JChurch Radio. Okay, follow us on Twitter. We will be giving away some Contact in the Desert tickets. And we're going to have a contest just like we did last year. We're going to get a little creative. So we're going to combine Twitter. So you got to follow us on Twitter. And you're going to have to go to the Contact in the Desert contest page once that is done. And we're trying to figure out a really creative way to encourage you to go and enter the contest. And anybody that won tickets last year, ask any Fader Not that won tickets and went to the show last year. What a great time we had. Contact in the Desert #1 is just an amazing event out in Joshua Tree. 100-acre, I think it's around 100 acres. It's huge, whatever it is. They got a campground. They've got all the facilities and places to eat and just a crazy setup that they have there. But it was the people that made it happen. And I think I said this on the show last night, and I'm sure Wowo had another heart attack. But Contact in the Desert last year, everybody that won, we took out to dinner. We took everybody out. Drinks and chow was on us. And did we have a great time? We posted so many pictures that night at that party because I just wanted people to be a little bit jealous. Ha, ha, ha. You didn't win. We had a blast. We went to a country cowboy karaoke bar. Oh, yeah. And it was going on, man. It was, and we had this huge table right in the center of the bar, and we occupied the whole thing. Somebody tweet some pictures of Contact in the Desert. One of you Fader Knots, get those up. Whoa, post some of those pictures of us last year. It was that good. Wait till these pop up in Twitter at JChurch Radio. Check it out. Hashtag F2B. That's the sandbox. Oh, Spaceboy just said it was all right. Spaceboy, do you want me to tell the story, what I did to you that night with alcohol? Do you want me to do that on the air, live, right now? Yeah, it was all you can eat, by the way. Yeah, we plowed. We had a really good time. Okay, man, I'm blowing through it. We've got Eric. Okay, where am I at? Let's get the show cracking. That's where I was at. Today, the man. Today, not yesterday, not tomorrow. Today, everybody's favorite talk show host Alex Jones is 41 years old. You can send the email to alexjones at alexjones.com. Alex Jones, 41 years old, built himself a little empire on the Bilderbergs. And good for you, Alex. I do listen to you. I do. I would like to get Alex on the show. I think that would be a fun night. Also, today, actress Tina Louise, 81 years old. Tina Louise. Where did the years go? 81 years old. Of course, we know Tina Louise, Ginger from Gilligan's Island. Also today, surfer Kelly Slater is 43. Actress Jennifer Aniston is 46. And I'll pump the brakes right now. Don't freak out. The reason why Aniston made the list: Office Space, Flair. Singer Sheryl Crow today is 53. And our dead guy birthday today, moment of silence, please. Let's just pause. Actor Leslie Nielsen. Born in 1926, died in 2010. At the age of 84, of course, he starred in Naked Gun, all of those. Airplane, one of the all-time greats. And he played over 220 characters in over 100 films and over 150 television shows. But his best, Forbidden Planet. You know it. It's one of the best films ever made. All right, let's light up Twitter right now. I'm gonna test the Twitter crowd right now. I'm gonna put my toe in the water, but it's one of those questions that has turned into urban. I want to say legend, or is it a legendary urban thing? I don't know what's the correct term here, legend or legendary. But here it is. Ginger or Marianne? Ginger or Marianne? Let's light up Twitter right now. Happy birthday, Tina Louise. All right. Twitter, at JChurchRadio. Facebook, JimmyChurchRadio.com. YouTube is Fade to Black. Everything is Fade to Black or JChurchRadio. Simple to find. Go right now, follow, like, and subscribe. Tonight we have Erich von Daniken live from Switzerland. Then we have a special mystery guest. Who is behind the door? We will find out. We will be taking calls tonight, 323-825-5045. Not during Erich, but with the mystery guest. All right, 323-825-5045. We'll do that later. You can email me throughout the show if you have any questions for Erich. You can hashtag F2BQ, get the questions in there, and you can shoot me an email to jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. With that, let's pay some bills. I'll be back right after this. This is Fade to Black, the Wednesday edition. That's right. Tomorrow's Fader night, everybody. Best night of the week. 323-825-5045. Marianne, Ginger, Marianne, Ginger. Whoa, 50-50, and they're buzzing by. I'll count them up during the break. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Bespoke radio for the masses, only on the Game Changer Network. I'll be back right after this.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
What's up, revolutionaries? It's me, Jimmy Church. Do you have an IRS or state tax issue? Well, I did, and I called national tax experts. My problems were fixed, done, fini, and man, I gotta tell you, it was a relief. National Tax Experts are a recognized tax office that services clients in all 50 states. It doesn't matter where you live. Give them a call. I'm telling you, they take the time to understand each and every client's individual financial status as well as their financial goals. And that's exactly what you need, my brother, when you're taking on the evil 3-letter. So, seriously, give them a call today at 1-877-909-5444. Again, 1-877-909-5444. Or go check out their website, www.nattaxexperts.com. That's NATTAXEXPERTS.com. Tell them Jimmy sent you.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
And the winner is Norick. Ginger and Marianne at the same time. Hey, Norick just pulled off Office Space and Ginger Marianne in the same tweet. That got her done. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Bespoke radio for the masses, only on the Game Changer Network, Spreaker, TuneIn, TalkStream Live. All right, let's get to some email. Then I'm going to get to the news that you know nothing about. And then we'll get to Erich von Daniken as soon as I get the text that they're ready to go over in Switzerland. I wonder if they got as much snow going on over there as Boston. We'll ask Erich about that tonight. All right. Got an email from Demian about last night's show with Wallace Thornhill and the discussion about gravity. And I got this. Gravity is the relay between dark matter and thought, which manifest in this third dimension. It is simply the force created by pulling raw thought into material being. What? Now, that email was so perplexing and so brilliant in its perplexedness, it had to be read. If somebody can put, let me see here, 1, 2 sentences together and confuse me like that well, it gets read. Well done, Demian. I don't even know what it means. Let me read it again. Gravity is the relay between dark matter and thought which manifests it in the third dimension. It is simply the force created by pulling raw thought into material being. Wow. Email from Ben Miller. You know, Ben writes every single day. I try to get Ben's emails in every day. This one's a little self-serving, but it's funny. He says, you are always pleading that you are just an average Joe like us listeners. But your interview questions and knowledge with Wallace say otherwise. Very impressive. Quantum physics and astrophysics, you were good. You were smart. That's how he spelled it. To coin a phrase. That's what he wrote. We need him back, though. He has much more to share with us. Well, I got to say, Ben, no, I am an average Joe just like all of you out there. Well, we're not all average. I don't mean it like that, but I am like you. And if you think me getting through that discussion last night meant that I was smart, all I got to say, smoke and mirrors, my brother. Smoke and mirrors. And that is the truth. And with that, let's get to the news you may not know anything about. President Barack Obama today made the case for Congress to formally authorize the use of military force in the war against ISIS, declaring that the congressional passage of a measure makes the U.S. strongest in the fight and that ISIL is going to lose, end quote. The proposal does give the military the flexibility to confront, quoting, unforeseen circumstances, potentially by deploying special forces in the region. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill received a draft AUMF, authorization of the use of military force, a resolution that would formally authorize the already 6-month-old U.S. military effort against ISIS. The joint resolution would limit the president's authority to wage a military campaign against ISIS to 3 years and does not authorize enduring offensive ground combat operations, according to the resolution. All right. So he's trying to get Congress on board. I get that. But what's the count now? 5 American hostages beheaded, dead. I'm not saying I don't want to see anybody go into harm's way, but we got to clean that mess up. Somebody does. Syria couldn't get it done, that's for sure. USA Today, one of the biggest American newspapers, published on its front page a map of the Ukraine, not showing the Crimean Peninsula. It wasn't there. Now, the perception challenges the Western stance declaring Crimea's joining Russia illegal. The map is part of the newspaper's coverage of today's meeting in Minsk to negotiate a truce in the Ukrainian civil war. It was not immediately clear whether excluding Crimea was a mistake or an editorial choice. The USA Today publication comes days after CNN made a Ukraine-related gaffe, labeling the National Army as pro-U.S. troops. Oops. The news channel, CNN, quickly apologized for the mistake, which many sarcastic commenters like myself just called it a Freudian slip. In a Mosul, Iraq market, listen to this and move a little closer to your speaker. In a Mosul, Iraq market, along with citrus, fish, clothing, Nikes, locals can now purchase watches, timepieces, actual watches you wear on your wrist, bearing the ISIS brand. The watches, which range in size, from your normal wristwatches, big gargantuan tuna cans with a strap on it. You know, those oversized watches. And they're all in glass cases in the market and sold right next to normal watches. The black and white ISIS image seen on the terrorist group's flag is right there on the watch face. Its top line reads, "There is no God but God." You know what? I'm not going to get into all of that. The images of the watches were first seen in the West over here in social media after jihadist sympathizers shared them amongst themselves. I looked at the pictures today. It's insane. Somebody somewhere, there's a little garage somewhere in the back of some crazy bomb maker's lab, and they're cranking out ISIS watches. No joke. I wonder how many they sell. Well, there's how many? Yeah, the answer is not many. After spending over a year in Iceland's National Museum, the last McDonald's meal sold in the country will now be going on display at the bus hostel in I did it. Reykjavik. I did it. Reykjavik, Iceland. The world-famous fast food chain shut down its Iceland locations back in 2009. And after all this time, the last meal sold in the country, are you ready? Has not become rotten or moldy. I've seen the pictures myself. After the economic collapse over in Iceland, McDonald's failed to keep customers coming back, and the company was forced to close all of the McDonald's locations in Iceland. The final day that McDonald's was open, which was October 31st, Halloween, 2009, and on that day, a man bought the last meal, which was a cheeseburger and fries. Now, he had no intention of, his name is Smarasan, by the way, he had no intention of eating it. He wanted to keep it and hang on to it because it was a piece of history. And now its new home is in a museum. And the burger and fries are sitting, cheeseburger and fries, are sitting under this glass case, you know, like you put a piece of cake, you know, in a restaurant, you got that glass thing that goes over the top. That's what it looks like. But it's got a webcam. You can go and look at this thing. So the entire world can see that there is no mold on 6-year-old McDonald's fries and burgers. Disturbing, isn't it? I'm going to get one after the show. I'm kind of hungry. Native Americans are complaining that Facebook's real name policy results in many accounts being repeatedly suspended, as the company's algorithm cannot believe the names such as, you know, Native American names such as Lone Hill, Brown Eyes, you know, Native American names. Cool names, too. According to the report from Color Lines, users with the Native American names are being locked out of their accounts, with their social networking site demanding back to them that they prove their identities to regain access. Now, I'm quoting here. "We require people to provide the name they use in real life," Facebook says. "That way, you always know who you're connecting with." I've seen it. You've seen it. The policy is having a direct negative effect on Native Americans, whose rare names sometimes are throwing off the algorithm and raising all those red flags. In a blog post, Dana Lone Hill said she fell victim to this policy as her account, active since 2007, was suspended. That, my friends, ain't right. The Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, routinely fails to report evidence of fraud or misconduct when it inspects the way researchers conduct clinical trials, leaving the public unaware of which research is credible and which isn't. Researchers at New York University found that in dozens of published papers where the FDA had uncovered faults in clinical trials, only 3 ever indicated that violations occurred. In a stem cell trial, for example, all patients were said to have experienced improvement. All patients were said to have experienced improvement, despite one having a foot amputated. The New York University study examined 57 clinical trials that received a notice of violation from the FDA for poor record keeping, false information, and poor patient study. Researchers found that the findings from those clinical trials were used in 78 published papers, but only in 3 instances were the faults in the clinical trials mentioned in said papers. Of the 57 clinical published trials, 39% had evidence of false information, 25% reported adverse effects, 61% had record-keeping problems, and 35% failed to protect the safety of the patient or had issues with oversight or informed consent. The hacking group Anonymous claimed responsibility once again for targeting nearly 800 Twitter accounts, 12 Facebook pages, and over 50 email addresses because of their links with ISIS. Twitter did not request, they did not respond to a request for comment, but Facebook said it had shut down 11 of the 12 pages listed by Anonymous because they breached its rules. It declined to comment on whether it had been alerted to the offending content by the hackers. I wonder if ISIS is a known name for the Facebook algorithm. I'm just saying. Anonymous declared war against Islamic extremists last month, saying in a YouTube video that they would track down their websites and social media networks and take them all down. In a new video posted Friday, Anonymous sent another warning to ISIS saying, and I'm quoting, "You will be treated like a virus, and we are the cure. We own the internet." Now, in closing, and we'll get straight to Eric. I'm gambling here. Leaders of the Ukraine, Russia, France, and Germany have gathered in Minsk, Belarus, for what is widely viewed as a last attempt to stop the violence in eastern Ukraine. The talks come as deaths continue to pile up. Wednesday's meeting today in Minsk has drawn worldwide attention with some 400 journalists covering the event. Even on Wednesday morning, there was no certainty that the talks would actually go on as planned. Later, it was confirmed, though, by the office of French President Francois Hollande that both he and German Chancellor Angela Merkel would be going to Minsk for the talks. The Kremlin officially confirmed today that, yes, Putin himself will participate. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, who is going to Minsk as well, said he was certain that the talks would result in a political settlement of the conflict. A Russian diplomatic source told Reuters, always remember Reuters and the Rothschilds, think about that there was a 70% chance that the leaders of Russia, Ukraine, France, and Germany would reach an agreement. And with that, I am just about ready. I got to click here. I got to take a peek. I think we're about good to go. This is Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You do want to follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Shoot me an email if you have any questions for Erich von Daniken tonight, Jimmy@JimmyChurchRadio.com. You can also go over to the website, JimmyChurchRadio.com. Very simple. Go over to the contact page. Shoot me an email from there. Make it good. Make the question smart. Get it past the producers. Get it in here to me, and I'll see if I can squeeze it in tonight with Eric. If you want to do so via Twitter, hashtag F2BQ. Fade to Black questions. Hashtag F2BQ. That feeds right into here, right into the studio. Keep it clean. When I say keep it clean, you know what I mean. Just don't send me a bunch of stuff. I keep that column clean because the rest of Twitter in front of me is ripping by like a Vegas slot machine, and I can't read everything. So just keep the questions only on hashtag F2BQ, and then I'll get those into Eric. With that, I am your host, Jimmy Church. I am excited about this. tonight, live from Switzerland, Erich von Daniken. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. Do not touch that mouse. Check us out right now. Tune in, TalkStream Live, Spreaker, and I'm telling you what, maybe by Fader night, tomorrow night, finally, we have the bugs worked out with iHeartRadio. I'll be back right after this. Do not touch that mouse. When we get back, Erich von Daniken will be right here with us.
You're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
My name's Nick Dominguez. Hi, I'm Rex Dominguez, and I listen to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Jimmy is your preacher.
Amen. This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're of the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
KJCR. JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
All right, welcome back. This is Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses, only on the Game Changer Network. Tune in, TalkStream Live, Spreaker. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Do follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. And if you want to come hang out in the sandbox, that is hashtag F2B. Very simple. If you got any questions for myself or Erich von Daniken during the interview, you can hashtag F2BQ or shoot me an email to jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. All right, let's get this cracking. I am ready. Erich is on the line. Erich von Daniken is a Swiss author of the best-selling Chariots of the Gods. It was published in 1968, and he won instant fame as a result of the television special In Search of Ancient Astronauts, based upon his first book. In 1993, the German television station Sat.1 started a 25-part TV series with and by Erich entitled Auf den Spuren der Allmächtigen, Pathways of the Gods. In 1996, the American TV company ABC Kane produced a one-hour special filmed all over the world entitled Chariots of the Gods, The Mysteries Continue. In Germany, RTL showed the film to 7.7 million viewers. Books in his Chariot series has been translated into 32 languages and together have sold more than 63 million copies around the world. I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black our good friend, live from Switzerland, Erich von Daniken. Erich, welcome back to Fade to Black. I know it's very early in the morning there in Switzerland. Thank you for joining us.
It's really a catastrophe. It's very early in the morning, around 4 o'clock, I think. And, between me and you, we have at least 20,000 kilometers. It's great that all this is working.
Yeah,
long live the modern technology.
Technology is amazing, and so is coffee, by the way. The last time that we saw each other was over here in the United States at Contact in the Desert last year, and you were very gracious and invited my wife and I up to your bungalow, and we chatted. But after that, you, Ramon, myself, and my wife, we jumped in a golf cart, and we went to your big event there. And one of the things that just blew my mind was the crowd, the anticipation, everybody waiting for your arrival. And Ramon had me walk in back of you, and Ramon was in front, and we cut through the crowd up to the event, and the reaction and the adoration, the respect that you got. It was like I was walking into Madison Square Garden with Elvis Presley.
Thank you for the compliment.
Well, how does that make you feel? And has that respect and fame, has it changed you over the years?
Well, it's really a worldwide phenomenon. I don't have to repeat this. It all started a long time ago, more than 45 years ago, with Chariots of the Gods. In the meantime, I'm an 80-year-old man. So worldwide, I am presented as a kind of living legend. And it doesn't really matter if I talk in Czechoslovakia or in Germany or in Australia. It's always overcrowded. So it seems the public likes to hear the message from this old Mr. Erich von Daniken. What does he have to say and what's new?
Does Ramon travel with you? And is he your only form of security? Do you do all of this by yourself?
I have only two guys working in my office. One is Ramon, and the other one is Daniel. And Ramon is traveling with me because he helps me. He supports me. I mean, finally, with 80 years, you're not running around like a 25-year-old fellow. So he helps me all belonging. And he will be with me, too, next time on May 29th when I'm again in Joshua Tree, Contact in the Desert.
Yeah, it's going to be great to see you once again. And, I wanted to ask you, when you and I were hanging out, we noticed each other's watches, and I said to you, "That's a nice Omega," and you said, "This was in space." Who gave that watch to you? Can I ask?
Yeah. I still have this watch. This watch dates back to 1968, and it's still a mechanical work, so I have to wind it up every day, but it works exactly on the second, very precisely. And I received it from the second man on the moon, from Buzz Aldrin. That's long time ago. That's about 44 years ago. It was in California. And the watch has an inscription, an engraving. It clearly says, first watch on the moon, Apollo, I don't know what it was. Anyhow, and I'm very proud of the watch. And don't forget it, more than 45 years old and still working. Mechanical watch.
Well, can I hold it the next time I see you, please? I just want to hold it.
Yes, of course, with pleasure.
Okay. Let's also, the last time that we talked, you said that your next expedition was to Colombia. Did you make it over to Colombia?
Of course. I was there for 1 month together with Ramon again. And you'll probably remember every tourist who goes to Colombia first starts in Bogota. And in Bogota is the Gold Museum. The Gold Museum is from the State Bank. And the Gold Museum is open to the public. And there you really see hundreds and hundreds of archaeological objects, but they are all in gold. And among these objects, they look like flying machines, like aircrafts. So I have seen these aircrafts before. I took photographs before, but this time I wanted to find out where do they come from. I wanted to go to the place to see the tomb, what is covered. So one of the archaeologists helped me and said they were found in a place called Tierra Dentro. Tierra Dentro means in English inside the earth. So we went by aircraft to a city called Neiva. And in Neiva, we had to rent a car, and we were driving for about 4 hours, always higher and higher, until we arrived to a little place called Tierra Dentro. And there are tombs. You see, some of the tombs, they are all in the rock. Some of them are natural, the rock is natural. Others have definitely been chiseled out. Still today, there is quite some old pottery in there. And on this pottery, again, you find these flying objects. So I asked the local archaeologist, where are these objects coming from, which today are in the Gold Museum in Bogota, these flying machines? And he said they all were found here. I said, how old are they? He said, we are not sure, but here we had a culture which started about 600 BC and was running until about 680, so more or less thousands years. And in these tombs, we found these golden objects. And they must have been very, very precise objects and valuable objects. It's not just an insect or something stupid. Otherwise, they would never have made them in gold. So they really look like aircrafts. They are now the original in the Gold Museum in Bogota. Of course, in the Gold Museum, you can buy copies of it in the same measurements. We buy the copy, and here at home we made some experiments. Are these objects able to fly? And they really could fly perfectly. So the question is, what is the idea behind? Why did old pre-Columbian cultures, and it must have been their leaders, their chiefs, why have they made objects who look like aircrafts in gold, very precise material, and they took them into their tombs? What is the reason behind it?
Well,
have they seen something flying who looked like an aircraft?
Yeah, the last time that I checked, Eric, insects don't have cockpits.
Exactly.
Insects don't have vertical tail fins and stabilizers. I don't see that in insects. I understand a critic or an orthodox archaeologist is going to go there because he can't say that it's an airplane. You just can't do it.
Of course not. No, this is not possible to say.
Right.
But it looks like an airplane. And really, it has a cockpit, as you said. It has a high tail, etc. And it is able to fly, definitely.
Yeah, and when, the triangle wings, of course, too, as well. And if you went up to anybody on the street that didn't know anything about ancient aliens or anything about archaeology or what, and you showed them one of these objects and you said, okay, what is this? They're going to say, oh, it's an airplane.
We were at another place in Colombia. First, you have to go to the city of Santa Cruz. Now in Colombia and in South America generally, there are many cities with the name Santa Cruz. This Santa Cruz is called Santa Cruz de la Sierra. And from there, you again have to rent a car, and you have to drive about 4 hours again. Now the roads, in the meantime, are very modern. They are paved. Some 20 years ago, it was all jungle. And you arrive to a little place which is called Samaipata. And in Samaipata is a mountain. This mountain is open for the tourists in the meantime. And in the center of the mountain are two grooves just parallel, one next to the other. They start down at the mountain. They go up the mountain. It's 263 meters long, and it ends abruptly on top of the mountain. So no one has an answer what these two grooves mean. To me, if you look just not with the eyes of an archaeologist, it looks like a ramp. As somebody would shooting something into sky, because it starts abruptly, ends abruptly. And I had the imagination, maybe some of these objects, these flying objects, were shot to heaven or in direction to the sky of this mountain. The mountain is officially called El Fuerte. El Fuerte means the castle, but there is no castle. There is no wall. There is no ruin. Nothing.
Right.
There is just this mountain with these two grooves inside. On the side, of course, there are archaeological diggings, but we don't know what it is. So Colombia still has quite of these mysteries. There are more, by the way.
The Swiss, and don't take this the wrong way, sir, but the Swiss have a reputation for being pretty conservative. What made what made you different?
Well, it's maybe my character. I mean, Switzerland is not only conservative, Switzerland is conservative in politics compared to the European. Switzerland is not part of the European community. All the rest of Europe, they want that we join them, but we have not done it. Switzerland has still its own money, the Swiss franc, etc. So in this sense, we are conservative, but our brain, our ideas are not conservative at all. And I was always interested in mysteries. Since I was a boy, I always wanted to find out the answers. I was never satisfied with the usual answer. There were always questions behind the questions. So I'm a little different than the normal conservative Swiss.
And you were brought up a strict Catholic, something that you and I have talked about a lot. And whenever we bring in religion into any conversation, it doesn't matter what it's about. It could be about sports, and you bring religion in, and suddenly everybody is polarized, and it brings in another element. But you were brought up a strict Catholic, and you turned out to be who you are today. Were your parents opposed to your reaching out and your open mind?
No, not at all. I was educated not only as a strict Catholic, I was even in a boarding school for 5 years, and this boarding school was led by Jesuits. Each and every of our professor had at least one doctor degree. So I was educated really strict. We made translations of part of the Bible from Greek to Latin and from Latin to German. And that's how everything started when I was a boy. I had doubts in my own religious education, because in the Bible you read that the God descends on the holy mountain with smoke, fire, trembling, loud noise, and so on. And in my idea as a boy, God should not descend with a vehicle. God would never need a vehicle to move from one point to the other. But in the Bible, we find God driving around in vehicles. So I simply was disturbed. I in my own religion believe, and I wanted to find out if other communities in antiquity have similar stories. That's how it all started. And the result, you know, in the meantime, the result are 36 books worldwide.
Did you dare step out and speak about this when you were in school, or did you just keep this in your mind?
No, I talked to the professors. And the professors, they were very, very nice and well-educated and polite and absolute integral personality. They were not against it. They all said, Eric, you have to understand more. You have to read more. It was the professor at that college I was who told me, read the book of Enoch. As a boy, I never heard of a book of Enoch. What the hell is Enoch? So I went to the library of the university and asked for the book of Enoch. No, they helped me, really, but they always hoped that I would return to my Christian belief. And the result was the opposite. I turned away from my Christian belief, but I never lost God. I am still one of these persons who pray every evening.
Well, in reference to that, there's gods in the title of Chariots of the Gods. So were you implying out of the gate back in 1968 a religious connection to UFOs and ancient aliens?
Not at that time. It started slowly. Of a sudden, I asked myself, why do all these gods in most of the religions, and by the way, in most of the Indian tribes, etc., they descend from heaven? All these cultures at that time, they had no contact to each other. There were no tourists, and no ships, and no jumbo jets. So why do they all come up with the same idea? And finally, I said to myself, just compare it with Christianity. Look, in Christianity, we have the case of Jesus. We all know Jesus was living in Jerusalem. That's 2,000 years ago. We all know he died, he was crucified. But only a few people were eyewitness of that. But Christianity has gone over the world during the past 1,000 years. Every country knows Christianity. There are temples and cathedrals and churches and chapels and so. But none of the architects, none of the painters, none of the artists who has been part of building a Christian church was an eyewitness at Jesus' time. They all heard the story, and it has become tradition. And the same thing, I said to myself, happened with extraterrestrials. One day, I was quite sure that we must have been visited by beings from outer space. And I asked myself, if this is true, then the cultures in the past, they must have chiseled or shown in a way or another their gods. So the next step was traveling. Go to every possible temple which you can reach and which is very, very old. And look at the temple walls and at the inscriptions and at the sculptures and at the figures with your idea. Do you see some descending gods coming out of the cloud with smoke and fire and all these things? Of course, the world is full of it. But in archaeology, we just had, at least until today, another point of view, another way to look at it. By the way, you asked me if my parents knew about these things. My father died in 1967. That was before Chariots of the Gods came on the market. Chariots of the Gods came on the market in the beginning of 1968. My mother, she was very, very happy about the success of her son. The only thing she always asked me, Eric, do not forget the belief in God. And I am a believer in God.
When, and then the Vatican, as we all know, has recently announced that we may not be alone in the universe. And do you think that is in part of the success of Chariots of the Gods over, a couple of decades, and that movement that maybe you had an influence in that announcement? And why do you think they made the change?
Well, in the Vatican, they have an observatory, an astronomical observatory, and the Jesuits who work there, they are very, very clever and very, very well educated. They know exactly what is going on in astronomy. They know that some 40 years ago, we all believed that the Earth is something unique in the universe. So the Earth is a planet not too hot, it's not too near to the sun, not too cold, it's not too far away. The planet Earth has developed water, etc., etc. In the meantime, because of the measurement of the Hubble telescope, astronomy knows that only in our Milky Way, so in our galaxy, not in the whole universe, we have at least 5 billions of Earth-like planets who are similar to us. We are not unique to hot and to cold. So the Vatican knows this. And the Vatican, these clever astronomers, know what every clever astronomer knows. That's why they changed their situation. Of course, my book may have had some influence because they have become world bestsellers, and many other writers around the world have started to write about the same story, to make their own researches and their own finding. So you cannot stop this idea anymore. And as I told you last time, these gods in antiquity, they promised to return one day, and the Vatican knows this. And in my eyes, even the popes, the one who lives today and the past popes, they know exactly that extraterrestrials have visited the Earth. They know it because of the case of Fatima. Does Fatima say you something? No?
Yes. And you're absolutely right. Well, did you want to continue with that about Fatima?
Well, just shortly. You see, Fatima is a big pilgrim place where the Christians believe that Mother Mary has come to Earth, and Mother Mary showed her to 3 children. Fatima is in the meantime a little city in Portugal. And this whole story took place in 1917. Now I make it short. On October 1917, 80,000 people were in Fatima out of the field, and then something happened, something incredible. It's called the miracle of the sun. Of a sudden, a gigantic disc appeared over the head of these 80,000 people. And this disc moved and had different colors. And the show was going on for about 4 minutes. And then it disappeared again. And these 3 children who first had their so-called vision, they have received messages from the Mother Mary. And the Mother Mary said to the children, our messages should be published by the highest authority of this planet in 1960. So the Fatima took place in 1917, and only 43 years later was 1960. Now in 1960, the Pope at that time, it was John, opened the secret of Fatima, and he went to the journalist and said, we cannot publish the secret of Fatima. It would destroy our belief, our faith. Now, I'm sorry. I am educated as a Catholic. I know that in the Catholic religion, Mother Mary is the mother of Jesus. Mother Mary is taken to heaven with their body, according to Catholic belief. Now, if Mother Mary in heaven gives an order to the Pope on earth to publish this mystery in 1960, and he says, we cannot do it, it would create a catastrophe. So it was not Mother Mary which appeared in 1970. It was extraterrestrials, and they know it exactly.
With when you have not only Renaissance artists, but and you go back maybe millennia or two, and carvings and cave paintings and different representations of things in the sky, it took a lot of effort to carve. If you were going to carve something or paint something, it was important, it was historical, and you were trying to document that moment. And certainly carving took a lot of time and tools and everything else. And so it was extremely important. And when you are depicting something in the sky, where we know we didn't have airplanes and so forth, and they were obviously seeing something, that's important. Do you think the Vatican has been collecting a lot of this important stuff and hiding it away from all of us?
Well, definitely. I mean, in earlier times, we had Christians had wars in Jerusalem. They had wars in Ethiopia. They took over Central America, the Christian monks, with Hernando Cortes, South America, the Inca, etc. And in all these places, they took old writings and they took objects and figures back to Rome. Where they are, nobody knows. The old writings, we know they are in the Vatican Library, but it doesn't help me because these old writings are written in the language and in the form which I could not understand hundreds of years ago.
Sure.
But the priests in the Vatican, they are very, very well educated. Some of them can read the stories. And I am sure sooner or later they must come to the same conclusion: our planet was visited by extraterrestrials. Now the question is, I don't think that they lose Christianity. Christianity is a wonderful religion with hundreds and wonderful cathedrals and chapels and an incredible belief. So we just have to change the religion. We have to say, in that case, it was not the Mother Mary who appeared, it was a contact with extraterrestrials. It will change the religion, but we will not lose the belief or the faith in God.
Have you had direct contact with the Vatican? Have they reached out to you? Have you reached out to them?
No, unfortunately not. Now the modern Pope of today, I would love to have a chat with him, but then it had to be in secrecy, of course.
You know it too.
Yeah.
I don't think there'd be a press release about that conversation.
No, definitely not. Then we have to both to agree that we both don't want to go to public. You see, Rome, the center of the Catholic religion, it's just a few hundred kilometers from me. If I would drive down there, it's a drive of 5 hours.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's right there. Yeah, it's over the hill practically.
Yeah, it's over the Alps on the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to back up a little bit. We talked about this last year, but only briefly. Göbekli Tepe. What do you see as the importance here? I think it's dramatic. What's your feeling about Göbekli Tepe, and is there a connection to all of your research?
Yeah, there is a connection. First of all, Göbekli Tepe is very, very old. They say it's the oldest archaeological discovery. They even date it back more than 10,000 years. So what culture did make these structures? They look like poles with the T upside, etc. So
right.
Now the link to the Chariots, the link to the extraterrestrials is the following. Göbekli Tepe is only about 12 kilometers away from the birthplace of our forefather Abraham. And Abraham was definitely taken into a spaceship, because there is a writing which is called the Abraham Apocryphic. It's not part of the Bible. The Abraham Apocryphic was found among the Dead Sea Scrolls. And in this Abraham Apocryphic, Abraham speaks in the first person, an eyewitness. He says, it was evening when two beings came down from the sky, and he clearly see they were not earthlings. They did not breathe like earthlings. These two beings took him up into the sky. He describes how he was flying up. And when he's up there, he says, I wish to fall downward to our planet Earth. The high place in which I was turned always up and down and up and down. Of a sudden, I saw the Earth up, and then I saw the stars down. Now, if you are in a mother spaceship orbiting the Earth, these mother spaceships will always turn around its own axis, because by doing this, you create an artificial gravity by the centrifugal force. But no one in Stone Age time could have known this. So these two beings brought Abraham back to Earth. And that's only about 15 kilometers away from Göbekli Tepe. So there might be a connection that these ancient Stone Age people, they said, we have to construct here a holy place, something to remember what happened to Father Abraham. Maybe they were hoping that these beings from the sky descend again on the same place and that they are returned. We don't know what is the true, but we know that we have the Abraham description in the Apocryphic of Abraham, and we know we have Göbekli Tepe, and no archaeologist has an explanation why exactly at that place. The place must have been a holy place. The next river, the next water is about 7 kilometers away. Whenever you make constructions, the workers have to drink. They need water. There was nothing. So what was so important to construct Göbekli Tepe at this impossible place? Maybe the story of Abraham.
Yeah, and you have you've been on your hands and knees in tombs and caves and looking at carvings, ancient carvings, in every continent all around the world. You've seen more than most, if not more than most. And when you see Göbekli Tepe and you look at those carvings, which are reported to be 7,000 years older than the next established culture, what does that say to you?
The carvings in Göbekli Tepe do not resemble the other carvings. They are different, and we have not explained today what these carvings mean. There are 2 or 3 animals which we know, like, my God, I don't have the English word for it. So, but it doesn't matter. While the cave paintings worldwide, they show, first of all, the usual thing, hunting scenes, and then in so many cases in the cave paintings, you see the gods. The so-called gods, you can always differentiate, because in every case they have rays, glitterings around their head, looking like a helmet. Now, again, these Stone Age people, some 7,000 years ago, they had no connect between each other. So why do we find in cave paintings the same elements, be it in Brazil, be it in the Sahara Desert, be it in Switzerland in some caves, all over.
Yeah, North America too, yes.
Of course. I have a collection in my archive of cave paintings with at least 2,000 pictures. And I have a book on the market which is not out in America, and these only show cave paintings, 300 of them, and compare them and say, what was going on here? You see, in the Sahara Desert, in a mountain called Tassili Mountain, we have some figures. They are 8 meters high on the cave, inside the cave. That means that artists who made this 7,000 BC or even more must have a construction. He was not as big as 8 meters. So he had to have a construction, some sort of ladders or whatever to make this. And it must have been very, very important to chisel this on the wall. And it really looks like an astronaut. I showed these pictures already in the movie Chariots of the Gods.
Which civilization, Eric, and I know that there's some obvious things, but which civilization or culture has the best evidence in your opinion? Is it Peru? Is it the Mayan? Maybe somewhere in the Middle East? But for you, where's the best evidence?
No, it's still Egypt. It's still Egypt. Egypt never ends. You see, in Egypt, we have these tombs of the oldest pharaohs from the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th dynasty. In years, that means about 2,600 BC. So from now on, 4,600 years in the past. And in these oldest tombs of the pharaohs, you find the so-called pyramid texts. They are called pyramid texts. And these pyramid texts always say, "Oh God," or "Oh Lord, you took me into your ship. We were flying over Egypt. I saw the land from above," etc. Now in archaeology, in the past decades, we always declared these pyramid texts as dreams. We said it's a wish, psychologically explainable. It's a wish that the pharaoh goes to another life or to another way after he's dead. I think it's not a wish, it's not a dream. It was reality. And you find them in these pyramid texts. And in the past years, as I explained in Joshua 3, and when I'm there again, I will show it again with the newest discovery. In the past years, more and more rooms have been found inside the pyramid and under the pyramid. We know exactly where they are. So some of the critics may ask, so if we know exactly where they are, why don't we go there and open it? You cannot go there. The shafts which guide to these rooms have a side length of approximately 14 centimeters. So no one can scrub in there. So you should destroy the pyramid. All what we can do is measure these rooms and these shafts with little robots and by means of electromagnetic waves. And that's what we do. Under the pyramid, a sea was located with a tomb inside. It's just incredible things. Now I have just to come to one point. Old Arabian writers like Ibrahim Abdul al-Mas'udi or Ibrahim al-Makrisi, they say the Great Pyramid was constructed before the Great Flood by a king with the name of Saurit. And then they make clear Saurit is the same which the Hebrew call Enoch. Now we have a connection. And in some of the old Arabian writings it said that inside and under the pyramid there are books, thousands of books for the future of mankind. And now in our time we make these discoveries. Something is coming to our generation. A new new knowledge, definitely.
When you put forth the idea originally, or about the construction of the pyramids and the time that it would take, and there was no way that it was done in 20 years, and there was no way that they can do this and do that. Today, that is almost an accepted argument out there, and you were a big push on that. But where did you come up with that idea? Did you just look at the pyramids and go, no, impossible, and then sit down and do the math? Where did you come up with that idea?
You see, it was never my idea that extraterrestrial constructed the pyramid. They never made their hands dirty. But when you are inside the pyramid, when you are inside what you call the Great Gallery, etc., you see the technology which was used to make these stone blocks really polished and gigantic. And then you realize, according to archaeology, this should have been made by Cheops. Cheops was a Stone Age man. Now, if you have many shafts inside the pyramid, as we discovered it now more and more, many shafts and many rooms, that means planning. Planning means writing. Cheops from the Stone Age, he had not this complicated sort of planning and writing. You know, he's practically, his forefather came from the Stone Age. All true, they had copper and iron at his time. So the pyramid does not fit together with the the knowledge of the engineers at the time of Cheops. Something was wrong in there. I realized that. And then, of course, I always want to know what do the old Arabians say. In our Western world, we just know what Western community is saying, or today's Arabian community is saying. Nobody takes care of the old Arabian writers. We always think, well, they are just dreamers. They are storytellers. That's not true. I was studying the old Arabians. Of course, I could not read Arabian. Some of these texts are made in English, or are translated into English. Others, I had the help of Arabian well-educated personalities who helped me to translate this. And in there they say that the pyramid was made before the great flood with the help of the gods. Not the gods constructed it. The humans made the dirty work. But the extraterrestrials gave them the knowledge, the planning, how to do it. And they deposited inside and under the pyramid their knowledge, their books. We will find them, I hope, within the next 10 years.
Yeah, if we built the pyramids today, could you imagine the computer, the CAD designs, the architects that would be involved, the planning? It would take years. And we're talking about the Stone Age, as you just said, without all of the aids of something as simple as drawing it out on a sheet of papyrus and plotting it out. But that wasn't possible back then. And how can how can we accept that they did that without writing, without the ability to plan, plot, and act as true architects?
The real problem is the engineering, the planning before the construction of the Great Pyramid. You see, you have not only the Great Pyramid with all these shafts and rooms, etc. You have also rooms under the pyramid. And they all are part of the planning because you have to go into the pyramid, and inside from the pyramid, you have a shaft going down 127 meters. So that's all part of the planning. It does not fit to the knowledge of engineers at Cheops' time.
Yeah, they didn't build as they went. Let's just put something here. Let's put something there. Let's build the grand chamber here as we're building the pyramid. No, it took foresight. It took vision and extreme planning. And on top of that, Erich, true north. Stone Age man, true north, they just looked to the stars and knew where true north was. I just don't buy into that, and it's a hard thing for me to wrap my mind around.
Well, I'm absolutely on your option. Yes, obtuse meaning. I'm sorry for my English. And not only the true north. You see, as we know, the pyramids are linked together with Orion, and it all has to do with astronomy, definitely. But the real problem was the planning from the engineering at Cheops' time. And this is not fitting with the reality of the Great Pyramid.
Now, we often talk about Egypt and Peru and the Maya. But what about Italy? What have you found in Italy? It's something that isn't spoken about much.
No, not much, no. Italy has some prehistoric walls which are impressive. You find in some places some big stone cuttings, but it must have to do something with extraterrestrials. And Italy is a tourist place. You know, the greatest place in Italy is still nature and the Vatican.
Is there any evidence of early prehistoric contact?
Not to my knowledge. Of course, we had prehistoric cultures in Italy, definitely. And archaeology suggests some of them were influenced by the Greek culture, the old Greek culture, which is quite possible. Or in Italy, we find old ruins, and they all are linked together in the same line. So, for example, you have 15 ruins. In some places today there is a church or a convent. But these ruins, they date back to antiquity, to Stone Age, and they are all lined up in one line. So again, somebody had a plan, and somebody said, okay, we have to construct something, but exactly on that point, and the other on that point. So all on one line. Why? We have no explanation for it. But this is one of the facts, not only in Italy. These lines, these straight lines, we find them all over Europe, and they all date back to prehistoric time. We also have them in Greece, by the way.
I have to ask you, and our time is limited, and it's early in the morning there, but one of the things that this is a question for me, so please let me indulge. The sarcophagus of Palenque, the first time you laid eyes on it, did you just have a heart attack? I mean, did you know what you were looking at?
No, it was absolutely sensational. It was really shocking, nearly to a heart attack. But I was enthusiastic. We have to explain for the listener what are we talking about. Palenque is a Maya place in Central America, Mexico. And among them, there is one pyramid which is called the Temple of Inscription. And in 1952, the Mexican archaeologist, Professor Dr. Rutz, discovered under the temple, beneath the temple, a secret groove. And this groove was covered by a big stone. I say big because this thing is 3.80 meter long and 2.20 meter large, so a real block. And on this block was chiseled out this tombstone of Palenque. You see a man bending forward, almost like a motorizing cyclist. He uses his hand to manipulate some controls. On his nose, you have something which you could say looks like an oxygen mask. He is sitting definitely on a chair. He uses his two hands to manipulate control. His left hand is even just picking on a knob. And behind him, out of a frame, you see something like a linking flame coming out. Now, since the discovery in 1952, in the archaeological literature, I have noticed 14 different explanations from respectable archaeologists what this would represent. In one point, they all agree, because you find writings on the block. And these writings speak about the ruler with the name of Pakal. Pakal was the second last ruler of the city of Palenque. Now, in the past, archaeology always said Pakal, the ruler, is falling into the open mouth of a mythological monster. He falls into the earth, but out of his chest you see a living tree or the cross of life. That was archaeology until about 2.5 years ago. Now the American archaeologist, Professor Dr. Stewart, he is the absolute most modern translator of Maya inscription, and he's accepted by the Maya archaeological community. Now he comes out in his newest book and say, no, Pakal is not falling into the earth, and that's not the tree of life or cross of life coming out of his chest. Pakal is flying away from the earth outside to the universe. Every little thing on the tombstone of Palenque has to do with the universe and with astronomy. That's now the newest scientific explanation. So we slowly came to the point.
Did you know what you were looking at the first time that you saw it? Did it just make perfect sense to you?
You see, the first time you have to climb there, this long, inside the pyramid, this long step. The step was very wet, so it was glittering. It was dangerous to go there. There was no electric light when I was down the first time. Mm-hmm. That was, by the way, in 1961 when I was down the first time. So we had to have our little lamps with us. I was not able with my lamp to enlighten the whole tombstone because it's too big. So piece by piece with my lamp, I have to enlighten the stone, and I saw this man sitting, bending forward like a motorizing cyclist. And I really said, my goodness, that's it. Now we have an optical proof. And then I learned what archaeology has to say. But as I explained just before, archaeology changes their mind.
Yeah, it is so mechanical. It is so advanced but I look at it. When I look at it, I know the history of it, and certainly your descriptions and the myth behind it. And it makes perfect sense. I can only imagine what you were thinking as you were putting the puzzle pieces together I just see this huge aha moment. Like I said, you must have just
that's good.
have a heart attack. And,
you know, in the Maya community, we have many of the so-called gods descending from the sky. And I guess you were in Mexico already. You have been in Chichen Itza. You stand before the Great Pyramid. And when you are there in Chichen Itza on March 21st, you see how the gods descend from the sky to the earth. It's made in a way, because the Pyramid of Chichen Itza is laid out in a way because of their steps, their stairway, their angle of the pyramid, that you see light and shadow, light and shadow, light and shadow climbing slowly down the pyramid when the sun rises up. It's absolutely fantastic. So still today, every year on March 22nd, in the early morning, go to Chichen Itza, look how the light and shadow comes down exactly on the stairway, which means God Kukulkan has descended to the humans.
Ridley Scott said that his film Prometheus is related to some of your ideas, regarding early contact and civilization. Did he reach out to you when he was making the film?
No, not. But it doesn't matter. So many films and so many ideas came out of Chariots of the Gods. It doesn't matter. In some cases, I know the authors, the writers. In other cases, or I know the filmmakers. In other cases, I don't know them. There is, for example, Mr. Roland Emmerich, who started with Stargate. So the first was a movie, Stargate. Later we had the series of Stargate. And I was in contact with him. And he clearly said, yes, I confess, Eric, I was absolutely influenced by your books. So Mr. Ridley Scott says something similar in an interview, but I never had a contact with him. I would love to meet him.
It's a great film, and it does definitely pays homage to you. You can see it and feel it. And how do you explain with the initial explosion, literally the explosion of Chariots of the Gods, and the public's sudden awareness of the possibility of ancient alien theory? Today, it seems to be even greater. How do you explain the constant worldwide fascination with this?
Somehow I have the feeling that all this is in our genes. Somehow we always felt that we are not alone in the universe. Everyone who starts dreaming, some people who take drugs, by the way, I never in my life took any drug. They have the feeling there is something out there and we are part of it. Now the old holy text says that the gods created humans according to their image, so we could be the offsprings of somebody else, etc. It's this knowledge somehow is in our genes. Now someone like Erich von Daniken expresses it in his book. And now the others, they have this aha effect. They say, well, that's what I was always feeling or dreaming about. That's why they read the books. And the books are written not in a scientific way, not in a complicated way that nobody can understand it. I write my books in a popular way. All this has to do with the success. And of course, many, many brilliant authors worldwide, in the meantime, they have taken up the case and they come up with their researches. And it all comes to one point. We must have been visited by beings from other universe. They will return one day.
I was with Jesse Marcel over this past weekend, and he said that Ancient Aliens just got another season, season 8. I just find that extraordinary. It's one of the most watched shows on television, but to go into an 8th season, I don't see it ending. Do you?
No, not. You see, some years ago we had this X-Files on television.
Right.
And X-Files was a gigantic success. It went on and on and on. Now, when I was last time in the United States a few months ago, they told me that now they are in productions of the series number 100. It's comparable to X-Files. It's a fascination. Why? I do not accept and agree with everything which is said and shown in Ancient Aliens. Some things seems to me a little too far away, but that's not at me. They produce it. They have to do what they feel is correct. But the general is, yes, we were visited from outer space, and we can prove it.
Well, let's have a little fun before I let you go. Now let's let our hair down a little bit. There's a difference between a critic and a debunker, as you know. How do you deal with critics?
Well, generally, I love them. I always understand that some people do not have to be with my ideas. They don't have to agree with my ideas. They are opponents. And most of these critics are absolutely nice personalities. But whenever we came together, a critic and I, and we discuss about 2 hours, and 2 hours I mean honest and fair discussion in a scientific way, I always learn that the other side tells me, well, Mr. von Daniken, we didn't know that. We never had that information. Because every critic may be a scientist, and every scientist has a special field of working. And in his field of working, he knows 10,000 times more than little Erich von Daniken knows. I cannot be a philosopher, and an archaeologist, an interpreter, and all that at the same time. But on the other hand, I have a special knowledge too. And in my knowledge, I am the best. And when someone is in my office, I can always prove it. I have, you won't believe it, I have over 250,000 pictures here. And they are all on the computer in the meantime. So when we go and discuss something, we go to the computer and I'm sorry, look, here is Nazca. And with Erich von Daniken's archive, you see pictures of Nazca in Peru, which archaeologists had never seen. So the end is, I'm sorry, I didn't have that information. Or I have copies of the old books here.
Right.
And it's always, sorry, we did not have that information.
Well, you know,
I understand the critics.
Yeah, no.
The critics are not the same as the debunkers. The debunkers, they know everything better, and they know nothing.
Yeah, we'll get to debunkers in a second. You always have to remember one thing. Nobody critiques something that isn't important. Okay?
Well, that's good.
That's it. And I totally agree with you. You need to embrace that. Now, debunkers is a totally different situation. And how do you deal with them?
Well, they have a problem because normally you cannot talk with them.
Right,
if I would have
right.
Well, if I would have a debunker here personally, you know, eyes by eyes, then we could, of course, discuss the whole thing. But mostly, I don't know who these people are. I read something or hear something on television, and the arguments I could disprove immediately. I could easily debunk the debunkers, but you never have a chance to do that because the other side never let you come to word.
Oh, that is so well put. Oh, you You've caused me to go in another direction in my mind. I'm going to get back to focus here because we could stay on debunkers for a long time. You mentioned your photo library, 250,000 pictures. Is it open to anyone? Can anybody come and hang out like me?
Well, generally, yes. But someone who wants to come has first to announce that he has to phone to make an agreement because I have to be here, or at least one of my office have to be here. And then, of course, if it's not just somebody, 20 people coming at the same time, and if we have time, I do it with pleasure. I mean, you are a brilliant radio interviewer. If you would come, be happy here. We would look into 5,000 pictures of Nazca that you wouldn't believe that all this is Nazca. Or if some of the authors or the writers or critics come to here, I'm really open. I invite them. But first, make your announcement. We have to make an agreement.
Sure. My wife and I are planning a trip to Europe, and when we do, we'll definitely
well, then
make
you
it a
have
point
to come to Switzerland. You know, I live in Interlaken. Interlaken is in the Bernese Oberland. That's where the mountains are, and the snow, and the skiing.
Do you still ski? Do you still ski? Do you still ski?
No. I learned it as every Swiss boy when I was a boy. But in the meantime, with 80 years old, not anymore. I don't want to break my legs.
Now, with 250,000 pictures, Do you open up? I've seen your file cabinets. It's extraordinary. There's just so many drawers. When you open, do you forget? You've probably forgotten more pictures than you remember. When you have 250,000, do you just open up drawers and start pulling them out and remembering and maybe going back? And does it inspire you to maybe do research?
I have a very good memory. The gods love me also with my 80 years. And when I think about something, for example, at the moment I'm writing in a book that has to do with India, with Kashmir. I know exactly I was in Kashmir 3 times. So I go to the archive and look under the letter of K, Kashmir, and then I found it. Now remember now, I know in all these places I was personally, most of the pictures I have made myself. So you can never forget this. Of course, I don't know the inside of 250,000 slides, but I know I have slides from that and that and that point because I took them myself some years ago.
Right. Do you teach? You have such a vast amount of knowledge. Do you teach? Do you get together and share this and teach? Do you teach?
Yes, every 1.5 year, I make here in Germany a so-called seminar. Does the word seminar say something to you?
Yes.
That means we are together, a group of maybe 150 persons in a hotel hall, in a big, and then we start in the morning at 9 o'clock, and this goes on for 1.5 days.
You can't
it's
stop.
Very interesting. So
you can't
that's what
stop.
I'm doing,
Yeah.
but only in German language because all these things are sometimes so complicated that I have to use my mother language and not foreign languages.
I can't wait. Thank you for joining us tonight again. I can't wait for you to come out to Contact in the Desert and we can hang out once again. I'm going to hold that Omega watch, by the way. I can't wait for you to get. I can't wait for you to get out here. And what are you going to speak about at Contact in the Desert? Anything new?
Of course, it's old stuff, but the old stuff always has something new. I just mentioned before we have this shafts and rooms in the pyramid. Some of them I was showing last time in Joshua Tree, but in the meantime we have new shafts, a new room. So you have to cover it shortly, what was before, and then come to the new stuff. The same thing happened about Nazca. The same thing happened about Colombia, about these flying machines out there. So there's always something new to add. Science, and even what I do, has never a standstill. It continues.
Don't stop what you're doing. You are a treasure to us all. We so appreciate everything that you have done. Not only for ufology, but helping rewrite history. And Eric, I really mean that. It's an honor to have you on the show with us again. Thank you so much.
It was an honor for me to be on your show. Thank you for giving me the occasion. And I hope one time again.
Yes, absolutely. And I'll see you in a couple of months at Joshua Tree. Thank you so much, Eric.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you. Ciao.
Bye-bye. Erich von Daniken, everybody. Thank you so much, Eric. And I'll be back. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be back right after this. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Oh, man. I just wanted to squeeze some more out of Eric. It's so early in the morning. He's 80 years old. Sounds like he's 20, by the way. It's kind of funny because as I was doing the interview, thank you, Eric, for that, if you're still listening. Man, I couldn't finish questions. He's bap, 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 on it. Got him to laugh, too. Thank you, Erich von Daniken. And I just got a text in from Ramon. And Ramon says he's going to give us 2 hours before contact in the desert. So we're going to have a full 2 hours. But I think he's going to have to have a whole pot of that coffee going. But, man, he's sharp as a tack, isn't he? Man alive. What did we learn from that interview? Couple of things. One, Buzz Aldrin gave him the watch. What? Oh, man. I got to hold it. I do. I got to hold it. All right. I'm still giddy. Thank you, Eric. Wow. It came and went so fast. I tried to get as many questions in as I could, but he is so free form. It just went where it went. But I squeezed in everything. I saw the Native American questions. I kind of got that in. I got in as much as I could. Thank you, everybody, all of you Fader Knots. And you know what? During the interview, I'm going to say this for everybody that was over on Spreaker in their chat room. I took a chance and jumped over there for the first time. So now I'm chatting to my left, I'm tweeting to my right, and I've just got stuff going all over the place. And I pulled that off. I didn't trip and fall like I did on Twitter twice tonight. Got caught, and I'm a little embarrassed by it. You can tell when I'm tweeting and talking, can't you? You can tell when I'm tweeting and talking. You can. You can totally tell. And when you hear me stumble, and then just watch Twitter, listen to me stumble, watch Twitter, and it all makes sense at that moment. You can see what's going down. All right. So, again, thank you, Erich von Daniken. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. That was Erich von Daniken, live from Switzerland. Follow us on Twitter right now, at JChurchRadio, hashtag F2B. That is the sandbox. If you want to become a Fader Knot, you want to join that revolution that everybody's talking about, come hang out with the family, head over to Twitter, at JChurchRadio. That's the first step. That's step one. Start hanging out, hashtag F2B, in the sandbox with everybody else. Make your presence known, and you're going to get vetted. We're going to check you out. But then you're going to get approached. And when you do, you're going to get a secret code to go over to www.faders.org, and you'll become an official Fader Knot. And if you're really cool, maybe, just maybe, you'll get your own Fader Knot badge. Think about that. It's cool. We're friendly. We don't bite. All right. This is the Wednesday edition. Tomorrow night is Fader Night. And as promised, right now, got a super secret guest waiting in the batter's box, swinging that bat right now. And I would like to welcome back to the program our very good friend, and I'm going to say this, I'm going to embarrass him just a little bit. He is truly Roswell royalty. You're part of the royal family. Everybody, Jesse Marcel's joining us. Jesse, how are you tonight, sir?
Hello, everybody. I'm great. Thank you very much. What an introduction. Roswell royalty, huh?
Roswell royalty. You are. Well, you know what? Check this out, Jesse, and welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Always good to hear your voice. But tell me, man, are you the grand marshal of all the parades there in Roswell, July 4th? Do you get to roll down the street in a Cadillac convertible?
Well, I'd hate to. It sounds bad, but I've only been to Roswell once.
How is that possible? You're royalty.
It seems like whenever the anniversary comes up, I'm deep involved in something. This year, definitely going to be there. They're going to make a nice little tribute to my father. So I'm excited about there. But it's literally been about a half dozen years since I've been there.
May, June, July. Right, exactly. Yep. Okay, our plans here with the Fadernauts, I don't know if we talked about this, you and I, or Rita, but we planned last year, because we had so much fun at Contact in the Desert. Of course, you were there. It was a riotous great time. Is what we want to do for Roswell this year is we want to get a Fader bus. Get a bus, park that thing in Burbank, everybody come out here, come out to the studio, hang out, little cookout, and then we fill the bus and we roll that baby straight into Roswell for Roswell weekend. What do you think?
That would be a lot of fun. That has to happen. That would be great.
If Contact in the Desert and the Fadernauts is any indication, and then throwing a keg, on that bus and heading out, we would need like 2 bus drivers. You don't even stop. Yeah, you just stop for gas, like halfway through, and just roll straight in and pull that baby up onto Main Street and stumble off and enjoy that July 4th weekend. I think we can pull it off. So as we get closer, what we definitely have to do is get Contact in the Desert a little bit closer and start to get that behind us. But I think it sounds like fun. And I haven't been – I've driven through Roswell, but the 2 or 3 times that I have driven through, we couldn't stop. And the people that I was with – we're not they didn't get it, you know what I mean? And
out of the vein of the
man. Sure. This is where the the saucer crashed in 1947. What saucer? Oh man, never mind.
It's a lot of fun there, even if not that you have to be a believer and non-believer, just everything. It's like a mini Comic-Con all the time. It's great. I mean, anybody should go there really just to hang out.
Yeah, I mean, how many people are there for 4th of July weekend? It must be a buttload.
I'd hate to quote a figure. I mean, it's tens of thousands anyway. I think that wander through there in about 4 days.
Yeah, so right.
It's constantly busy. Like the parades, the costumes, the everything. It's just a blast.
What's the population of Roswell?
I couldn't tell you, but my grandpa's time, it was probably around 20. But really, with after this whole Roswell incident came out, I think it went about 5 times that size.
Yeah, exactly. And I wonder what it is now, because 20,000 people rolling into that town, I'm sure the population doubles.
It goes way up. And what's great, of course, I've only been there once, but the townspeople are great. They kind of. I wouldn't say stay out of the way, but they come out to see all the crazy people coming into their town and having fun. And
Donna Colvin just tweeted, "You don't have to go there during the festivals. It's great all year." And that's Mayor Donna Colvin, mayor of Roswell, New Mexico, just popped in. So a couple of things really quick. Welcome to the program.
Yes.
And what I would like to do tonight, because we don't have anything planned, I have a few things that I would like to talk to you about, but I think I would also like to take advantage of this opportunity and take some phone calls from the Fadernauts so they can talk to some Roswell royalty. And stop! I kid. But hey, you know what? It's kind of funny when you meet somebody, Jesse. Somebody in the know, not at a convention, not at a seminar, nothing like that. But, you introduce to somebody, and for the first time, they don't know who you are, but they hear your last name, and they're in the know. Do they just trip? And I mean, seriously, do they? And do they go right there? Are you related to,
2 questions. Are you related? Was it real?
Back to back.
And then within, I always say yes. And then quickly thereafter, it's, I have an uncle or I have an aunt or I saw this or that. I mean, it goes from one to the other almost instantaneous.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, it's not like your name is Robert,
It does. I'll tell you what. In all situations, from professional atmosphere, where in some jobs I've had in the past, people you would have, attorneys, lawyers, doctors. My wife's, if I can be open about it, her OBGYN. Here we are going through the stuff. We're about to have, working on the first child's about to be born, and hey, your name is awful familiar. It's been really bothering me. And guess what we're talking about during the?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly. So wraparound eyes, huh? How many were?
Exactly.
How many were caught alive? How many were dead? Can you just take care of my wife, man? We can chat about this later.
She's not feeling. Yeah, let's take care of this. And
that is too funny, and it sounds like probably word for word exactly how it went down. I wouldn't be surprised.
It is. I mean, what I love about this in Roswell and the whole idea of alien life and visitors and that kind of thing is that it's across the board. It's from people who live on a couch to doctors to lawyers to politicians. I mean, and it's everybody has an interest in it. It's just, like I said, it's across the board. It's not like I haven't found one segment of the population that's more into it than any other, but everybody has an interest in it.
Hey, before we move on, because I'm looking at your flying car, for lack of a better word, I'm looking at the illustration of it. Ultra cool, by the way.
Thank you.
I see a couple, but I want to ask you about the last time you were on with us, and we've talked many times on the phone since,
yes.
About this, but we never really got a chance to get into it. So tonight, I want to take the opportunity to do that and see where you are at with this, because it's absolutely amazing. That's no joke. But what do you think about what's in the news right now? These Roswell alien slides. Have you had a chance to peep them out? And do you have any comments?
The only comment I have is, from an amateur, they look real. And I think all of us know that somewhere, like in this case, a box under a bed, something found in an attic, there's going to be evidence that's still out there that's going to show up like this. I'd like to embrace it. I have no reason not to believe that it's that it's real. They've always been doing some tests on it. I hope they allow a lot of outsiders to do continue to test that kind of thing. But of course, I'm prejudiced. I believe in it, of course. But it would sure be nice to have some supplemental information come out of a situation like this and show, hey, look at this. What do you think of this? And what amazes me, because I've talked to a number of people about it, people aren't that. I wouldn't say the word excited is not the right word. It's just people have already embraced the idea of Roswell or of other sites of aliens, that kind of thing, that, hey, this is cool. It's not earth-shattering. We already believe this happened. We believe there's perhaps aliens among us. But it's a good little a little push, but it's interesting, to say the least.
Well, what do you think about the images?
Exactly the way they've been described to me.
Exactly. Are you feeling good about it? Are you on the fence? Are you hopeful, or do you think it is what it is?
I am. If I could say, I'm not. I'm a little bit over the fence.
Really? You're on the good side.
Yeah, I'm on the good side. And I'll tell you what, I tend to be pretty negative about most things out there when it comes to Roswell, because most of it, I have heard it from the mouths of the people who held the debris and all that kind of thing. And I hear some of these stories, I'm thinking, I just doesn't seem like that was possible from everything I know. But this smells like there's something to it.
It does. It does. I got a bunch of images sent to me yesterday that were from of an alien in Mexico at a museum somewhere. I don't have the exact city. I have to go through the emails. But so I'm looking at it. Now, the comparisons, again, I've got a third generation of the alien slide. So I'm comparing that to something that is a fresh, really nice high-res pic of this alien in Mexico. But when you compare the two, the first thing that comes to mind is when you expose yourself, Tom and Don and everybody that's involved with this, when you expose yourself, you're exposing yourself to the internet and a bunch of research and a lot of people with knowledge and references, and they're going to go and they're going to be able to find something and either debunk it or not, but you need to brace yourself for that kind of response.
Exactly, yeah.
And I'm looking at these, and at first I was like, oh man, no, really? But as I looked, the similarities were there. But the torso section on the Kodachrome slides, the torso section was much flatter and not bloated. Whereas this alien that's in this museum is bloated. Am I making sense when I say bloated?
Absolutely.
Pregnant.
We both thought the same thing then. Because I was looking at that same way. And then I got, obviously the same ideas that if this being had been, had passed a while before this, I mean, depending on how it was cared for, I mean, that wouldn't be out of the question.
Right. And I was a little relieved, Jesse. I was like, because you know what? I really do. I believe something happened in Roswell. Mm-hmm. And I really want the lid blown off of this so we can all just go, okay, because once the one domino starts to fall and this entire thing, from 1947 and before to today, once we get that foot in the door, that little crack in the door and you kind of wedge your foot in there, that's all we need. And then everything will start to fall after that. And people are going to ask for heads on a plate. Let's not joke around about this. It could seriously get out of control. Could these be what they're supposed to be? I hope that they are. And like I said, I was relieved with the whole torso section. If it would have been anything but that, I would have. Oh man, it's like the wind out of your sails. It's like, oh man.
Yeah, I agree. There's a certain part of me that wants to believe they're true. Kind of the old X-Files saying. But there's something, like I said, there's something about it. I'm usually one of the first people to look at something and think, that just doesn't quite. But these, for some reason, there's something beyond just physically looking at them. I'm getting some kind of I'm getting a feeling that there's something to this. Not that means anything, but I have a genuine feeling that there is actually something to these.
Yeah, and also there was one other thing I want to point out to everybody is the atmosphere, the surroundings, the backdrop in the Mexico museum photographs. It's a different box, it's different glass. Not to say that has anything to do with it, but they certainly weren't. That alien wasn't shot. If it was the same, it wasn't shot. Those slides aren't from that museum.
Oh, definitely not.
It could be the same alien transported. That's possible in two different scenes or scenarios, backdrops and stuff. But it certainly wasn't shot in the museum. You can take that off of the table completely.
Yeah, it does. It's even back to there was the Alien Autopsy movie that came out, and the guy says, well, yeah, that was something I created, but that was from something that happened that was real. And I really from the experience being a Marcel and that kind of thing, this has to exist. This evidence has to be somewhere. I can't believe every last bit of it is gone. And like I said, this is how it's going to come out, just like what's happening right now.
2010 Roswell census just sent to us from David M. Lowe. You got to love Fate or Not.
What do we got? Yeah.
48,411.
Oh, well, okay. That's a little smarter than I thought. But
no, it's bigger than what I thought. I know, seriously. That's about double what I would have thought. Now,
it is double what it used to be. I know that, yeah.
Well, and then, yeah, okay. So during the festival, does the population double? Does it balloon to 100 grand?
I think on the anniversary, like the big 50, it definitely did.
Right.
And so and on the decade, on those things. So I wouldn't doubt it at all. I know when it comes around, you can't get a room, and they built a lot of hotels, to fill and a lot of it was based on that weekend. So.
Yeah, campgrounds made some money too.
Oh, yeah, everybody. Yep, exactly.
Okay. One of our producers here, Renee, just sent me a quick question to throw at you via email. She says, in your opinion, Why did dozens of witnesses finally come forward in mass in 1988? In TV program interviews with Mike Farrell, ignoring the threats that they received decades earlier from government officials, if they revealed what they saw, why did they start ignoring those threats and decide to come forward?
Obviously, if one comes forward, it's easier for somebody else to come forward. It really boils down to two different things. You're either being influenced by something outside of yourself, that maybe it's out of your realm of the normal thought, or it's just something inside you say it's time. It's like my grandfather. When he originally, came out about this stuff, talking on the ham radio, then of course everybody knows the story. Stanton Friedman got involved in that kind of thing. It was just, the time had come. And it might sound a little silly, but it seems like things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
So it's not much of an answer. It's kind of a
no. There's power in numbers. Power in numbers, Jesse. Power in numbers.
I absolutely believe it, and we'll talk about the little car idea later. But it's like sometimes people have asked me some pretty crazy questions about where I came up with the technology and that kind of thing for it, and they've made some drastic comparisons, and it's like, well, it's like, I hate to say it, but I don't know where these ideas came from. That maybe something is helping me along. I don't know.
Oh, whoa! Check your email and post the picture, the illustration of Jesse's car. Pretty cool. You know what? We're at the top of the hour, so I'll just go ahead and do a quick drop here. This is Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses on the Game Changer Network. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Follow us right now on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can shoot me an email, just like I just read right now in real time, to if you have any questions for Jesse, email Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. You can also throw some questions into Twitter, hashtag F2BQ. We are speaking with Jesse Marcel III, Roswell royalty. Hey, you know what? I'm going to hook you up with a T-shirt. Roswell.
Perfect.
Yeah, when you're at Contact, I'll walk in front of you and have a little basket with some rose petals. What do you say, brother? Okay.
Hey, let's do it.
Oh, man, Jess. All right. Now, let's talk. I'm going to open up the phone lines, 323-825-5045. They are now open. If you would like to talk to Jesse, any questions that you have about Roswell, I'll say Jesse. You've got Don Schmidt, you've got Kevin Randall, you've got Stanton Friedman, you've got all those great researchers, Jenny, you've got all those researchers in the past. But you have a direct DNA connection to it, and your knowledge of it is second to none. So if anybody has any questions about Roswell, 323-825-5045, because we are speaking with the one and only Jesse Marcel III, whose grandfather, you know what? Everybody knows the story, so let's not get into that. Let's talk about your car.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever.
You have designed. I keep calling it a flying car. Are you comfortable with that, or do you have another acronym for it?
NASA came up with something called the Personal Air Vehicle a couple of decades ago. And that is, if there's a technical term for it, it's a personal air vehicle, and flying car is kind of a tongue-in-cheek or a slang version of what it's actually called. I mean, call it whatever you want. It's a vehicle. You wouldn't drive it on the roads, though. It's not meant to. It's meant to be something that you keep in your garage. You pull it out in the front of your driveway, and you take off, and you go to wherever you're going to go. But like I said, there's really no reason to try to go on a road. That would just slow you down.
Well, sure. And not only that, we've always wanted a flying car.
Absolutely.
That's just it. Let's grab our first call. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling? Say hi to Jesse Marcel.
How you doing, Jesse?
Great. How you doing?
This is Easy Rider from Carbondale, Illinois.
How are you? How are you, Easy? You're talking to Roswell royalty, man. Can you feel the vibe? Can you feel it?
Hey, that's a great job tonight, Jimmy, interviewing Eric.
Yeah, Eric is a great guy, and what's funny is Jesse's the younger version of Eric in that, you wind these guys up, and then there's no stopping them. And they just
you gotta love Eric's passion, man. I mean, he's 80 years old, and you can just tell the enthusiasm and passion just pours out him on this subject.
Yeah, all of us, Jesse, myself, and all of the, everybody that's ever been around Eric, we all say the same thing after being around him. Man, I hope I got it together when I'm that age. That's it.
Absolutely.
That's all you can walk away. That's what you walk away with after hanging out with him. I am being serious. Jesse at Contact in the Desert, you thought the same thing about Eric, didn't you?
Absolutely. Amazing individual. Yeah, absolutely.
So, Easy, what do you have for Jesse tonight?
I just wanted to tell Jesse I love seeing him and George on Ancient Aliens. You guys get into some really interesting stuff. And I wanted to ask you, Jesse, have you heard of the Star Child? Because I think it's a skull they found over there in Mexico, and they did some DNA analysis on that, and it's pretty wild. I don't know, we might already have some ancient alien artifacts laying around. I just wanted to find out what you thought about that, and I'll take my answer off there. Y'all have a great night. Bye.
Thank you, Easy. Great call.
All I can answer about that is my father had conversation about the exact same thing a number of years ago, and then Philip Coppens, that was one of his fortes, was studying these skulls, and that what interested me the most, and my father the most, quite frankly, which of course got my attention, is the lack of scarring, the perfection in these skulls. That not all of them, some of them, that are beyond almost our ability to tool them today. And it really, at least some of them are beyond question that, they're somewhat of a miracle. They're not, I would tend to believe that they're not all from here. That whatever, I'm not quite sure what they represent exactly, but like I said, we can't even do it today.
Well, when you watch he's no longer with us, Lloyd Pye, and you watch that one famous presentation, everything that you know is wrong, right? Mm-hmm. And you watch, it's one of the best lectures ever on the web. And you watch that, and you listen to his knowledge of the Star Child skull. And that's what opens up your eyes, literally, just like the Star Child, because there isn't another. If there were other skulls like that were revealed, or if there was a species of human, alive today that resembled that, okay, tampered DNA, not tampered DNA. Sure. It's just the formation of the skull, but that skull is unique and stands out on its own, and it perfectly matches everybody else's descriptions of what they have witnessed in the past. Mm-hmm. And when you have a debunker, you have a skeptic, and they come up and they bring this up, well, you know what? Just like Lloyd did, well, we got the Star Child skull. It's right here. What are you talking? What do you think of this? They want to know the evidence, and then you whip that out, and there's your evidence. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And he talked about doing some genetic testing and studying and that kind of thing. And it's just, you run into a problem, and of course, all our genetics, all our DNA is based on the same thing as everything else out there. But it does beg a few questions and leave a lot more. Yeah, it's a very fascinating artifact. Excuse me.
I did. Back to your car. Do you have a website where this is at right now?
Yeah, if you want to take a peek at it, it's at airbornemotors.com. Airborne with an E.
Spell it. I'm doing it in real time.
It's
AirborneMotors.com.
You got it.
I'm going there right now. Airbornemotors.com. Let's get that link up. Oh, yeah. Check it out. Okay. You know what? Hey, Jesse, what's the weather like there? I'm going to let you chat while I tweet this out. Go.
The weather, okay. It's been a sunny day. It's crazy up here in Spokane where I'm at. We haven't really had a winter. It's like we're already in spring. It's been in the 50s. It's just crazy. Kind of nice, but if you're not a big fan of the winter, but I'll tell you what, it's crazy. It's like, you know, I still have leaves that need to be picked up from last fall. It's kind of embarrassing, but I was hoping it'd snow, but it never really did.
I can't believe you took the bait on that. You really took the bait.
I easily do
You
that.
took the bait. You just ran with it. Okay, I'm looking.
You got to watch what you ask me to do because, yeah.
Okay, so you call it the Typhoon F1? Is that what that is?
Correct.
The Typhoon F1 Sportscraft. The logo's great, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Well, you have a car. You got to have the cool logo.
You got it. It's what it is. Airborne Motors is the main company, kind of like a General Motors kind of idea, and what I'm trying to put together is a foundation for the future for flying cars and vehicles, that kind of thing, where a go-to. So not only the work I've done on the Typhoon, but other people with similar craft, we can kind of join efforts, and that's kind of the foundation to work with the FAA, future ruling, obviously infrastructure to make this all happen. So that's the airborne part. The fun part I have is I was obviously designing the Typhoon F1. F stands for freedom. The original concept is for one person, although it can be easily modified to fit four, that kind of thing. But what you see, if you want to go to that website, you'll see it's for one person.
It kind of looks, well, it's a sports car ish design, but it looks a little 911 Porsche-ish, if that makes sense. But it's got a little Italian flair to it too as well, a little German, but certainly it doesn't look all industrial and uninteresting. This looks like something that, is cool.
That's one of the I've had a lot of interest in it so far, and one of them is really lucky. There was a meeting last week. One of the larger sports drinks companies looks like they want to come out and do a sponsorship and that kind of thing. Whether they're going to do it or not, it's in discussion, but it sounds pretty cool. But that's the first thing that people get attracted to is it looks like nothing else out there. When you put the whole thing together, there really isn't anything else like that. The technology, although the technology we've been using the same technology for decades, but I'm applying it in different ways it's been used before.
Now, your initial wave of funding, is on Indiegogo.
Yes.
And certainly all of that information is on your site. We were talking about that earlier. You're on Indiegogo. You didn't know, you didn't call me, but you didn't know about Truth Funders. And
I didn't, unfortunately.
I know, and I know that now you are talking to Truth Funders about some other projects, and I think that's great and that's exciting. I would like to see this design and this push on Truth Funders too, but you're on Indiegogo. I don't want to interrupt the flow or get involved because that's not my job and that's not what I do. But it would have been great to see this on Truth Funders. I hope that your push and you get everything that you need out of Indiegogo. I'll say this. I look at this. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at the top view, looking down. What makes sense about this is I'm thinking drone here.
You're thinking right. Yep.
Right? So you have the stability. If drones work, I think like this all the time. But if a drone works, then why isn't that thing blown up, 100 times scale, 50 times scale, whatever, make a 100-person version of a drone, like a hovercraft or something like that. But I look at this, and if the drone technology works, it's totally proven, totally stable.
Absolutely.
The software, it makes sense. And then I look at this, and this makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, it's like it has 4-quarter rotors, like a quadcopter.
Yep.
Quadcopter drones. That technology is pretty similar. It's kind of nice because that technology, the hardware behind those, and all of the engineering and the computer, the models have been built, will apply right to this. So that's really nice that everything is kind of going in lockstep with this. This is a little bit different. That you see a main rotor, the main fan it's a hybridized fan. Because it's not only creates thrust as it spins, it's actually magnetic. and it's a component within the motor. So it's not like you have another motor hooked to it. It's actually the motor. So you have between the body of the car and the rotor, it creates about 1,000 horsepower the way the design is right now. Anyway, that component lifts it up the air, vertical takeoff and landing. So now the quadcopter portion, the corners, are more for directional control, not for lift. And also because of the center rotor is magnetic, and it's the heaviest point is around its perimeter, and that works nicely because now it has the same effect as a gyroscope. So the best way to look at this car is it's a flying gyroscope. It's exactly what it is. And
each one of the 4 smaller quadcopter rotors, if you want to call them that, are in the opposite direction. I see that, and that's for stability too as well.
Yeah, well, the way you have part of the deal is you want to keep your parts count down as much as possible. You can be super high tech, but in that you can really eliminate a lot of the complexity of it. And that's what I've tried to do, is eliminate as much complexity as possible to make it as safe as possible. Like for instance, the central fan creates a lot of torque, and that will want to turn the car, but the corner rotors turn in the opposite direction, and they also rotate about double the speed of the central fan, and together they kind of equal out, and they kind of balance out. And if there's if it's not quite enough to keep it going in a straight line, let's say, it's a simple way to put it, the corner fans, unlike a quadcopter, actually rotate on 2 axes. So they can go front, back, side to side, at any angle within that parameter. So the computer can adjust the angle of each corner fan to keep the thing going straight, to keep it going level. Not to mention, like a quadcopter, they're all frozen in place, and the movements, the gyrations can be drastic. You can get them to flip, release, that kind of thing. Well, this has 2 modes. One where they are rotatable, so the craft will stay completely level no matter what you do with the corner fans. And the other one, you tighten them up, kind of like a sports car, where it has like a Corso mode, or a one where you get a little more like a track car.
Right.
And then they get tighter around their axis. So now instead of going left to right, forward and back, flat, you're now banking through turns.
Hi, Dino. Say hi to Jesse Marcel.
Good evening, Jimmy. Great sound tonight. Jesse, that's a very cool car, and I just bought an electric bicycle off Indiegogo that could fit right on the back.
I think I've seen that one, yeah.
Yeah, the Storm e-bike. I got it for cheap. The price just went up, but I got it on the first day. But I hate to almost be you're looking toward the future, and I hate to almost go in the past for you, but I have to ask, because before my father died and my uncle, I learned they started talking about things that I'd never heard before about World War II, et cetera, and how it was during the Depression. So I guess what I want to ask, I've followed Roswell for so long, and you know, your father and you were from that town. What can you tell us? I mean, I want to hear something really obscure. What can you tell us that's obscure, that's a fact about Roswell that most people don't know? I guess that's what I want to know.
That's my job, Dino. You can't come in here.
I'd like to interview him for the next hour myself, but I can't.
Oh, man, I'm going to hang up on Dino. That was uncalled for. No, great question.
No, I love you, Jimmy. I just, I supplement you.
Hey, thank you, Dino. Great call, great question. All the best, brother.
Bye.
The one thing, and I think I've never lived there, it was my father and grandfather, because my father was the one that was young when he had all the debris. But there is one, and I don't know how well known of a fact it is within our family, that part of Roswell, of course, everybody knows the conspiracy behind it. And a lot of people don't know is that my grandfather and the Blanchards were very good friends. And they had talked about Roswell and the incident Roswell, the UFO debris, long after, years after and months after everything had gone quiet. And there's a lot of this. There's some information out there that it was us versus them. My grandfather saying one thing.
I'm going to jump in. Is this the bridge, the poker party, the bridge party, the cards?
There you go.
Okay, I have to. Okay. You've got to tell this story, and just go. Sorry to interrupt, but I just because this is mind-blowing stuff. Go ahead.
Well, they were good friends. They played bridge on the weekends. The Blanchards did, and my grandparents. And one, I don't know the exact date. This is my dad had talked to me about it. It was several months after the July date, and apparently the colonel brought over an I-beam one of the nights they were playing bridge. And my grandfather and he looked over the sink, basically at a little window, and they're looking at the symbols and that kind of thing. And anyway, it's a completely different story than what history has written. And it was, like I said, a very friendly, it was very interesting.
And so, they come over to play bridge or play cards, and Blanchard's like got it in his pocket. I mean,
Yep, just he had to have in his pocket or his suit vest. I don't know what he wore when they went to play bridge, but yeah, he brought it over with him because they just sat and talked about it.
Now the question is, where is that piece today? I know you don't know, but have you ever speculated?
Yeah, definitely. The big question is, did he take it back with him? Did he leave it with my grandfather? If he left it with my grandfather, then where the heck did it go? It was a sad day, and my grandfather passed. I mean, there wasn't any time to say goodbye. He unfortunately went very quickly. So if he was aware of a piece, if he was, it went with him, that knowledge of where it's at. I'm not saying he did or he didn't, but I still have it. There's another thing is he always had a twinkle in his eye. He'd always wink at you and say, "Yeah, there's a lot more going on here than I can tell you."
Well, listen. Your dad was a straight shooter. He was just a straight guy, and so was your grandfather, a straight shooter. But and I know that your grandfather returned everything. He brought. Yeah. We know the story. But do you think, is it possible that just maybe there's a piece somewhere in the Marcel family hidden somewhere that maybe you don't know about it, or maybe you do, or maybe your sister's got a piece and she's just not talking?
Denise, I sometimes wonder. I really can't believe there is not something out there that it's down a heater vent or something. I can't believe that. I don't know. And this kind of comes down to my grandfather, who is obviously he's an intelligence officer. He broke every rule in the book to show my father, to bring him on what he saw, because it was such a significant thing that he knew himself that it was going to go away. It was going to be swept up and it would be gone when he returned back to the base. And that's exactly what would happen. He just wanted to give his son and his wife a chance to see something that he was sure was not of this world. Okay, so if you do that, does that also mean, if you have the chance, if Blanchard left that piece with you, would you have him take it back, or would you just slide it in a drawer if Blanchard offered to give it to you? It's all speculation at that point. But I'll tell you what, if I was my grandfather, I hate to say it, but I might have been weaker, because I would have kept a piece.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know why I believe you, Jesse? Because you would have the largest flying car company on planet Earth right now. There would be no Indiegogo in your future.
I would. Yeah, I was like, yeah, exactly. We'd have.
Oh, my polluted mind. I apologize for that. That was a little offhanded, but it's true, So I just, the thought, like I said, your dad's a straight shooter, your grandfather was a straight shooter, but man, if it's me, I got a shoebox somewhere, full of stuff, and
exactly.
Oh man. I just, I think I talked, either you and I talked about this off the air, or we were joking around one day, but who lives in both houses, the Blanchard house and your house back in Roswell? You buy that house and you take it apart stick by stick, and you raise that thing to the foundation, and maybe even dig up some of that too as well. And poke around and see what's there. And do you know who lives in your old house, your family's house?
No, I do not. I apparently they're fairly welcoming, because my father just before he passed, he was able to take some pictures there. So the people are, I guess, somewhat aware of the history of the house.
Sure.
But they were friendly, and I agree with you. I honestly, what's the chances a little fiber is now between the melamine floor and the floorboards, or out the back door, out the front door? I mean, just somewhere in the dirt, in the dust, there's not something.
Yeah, I could just see. I could see your dad going over there. Hey, can I? I'm going to take some pictures. Can I use the bathroom for a second? Man, Jesse's been gone for about 20 minutes. Going there to the walls torn down.
Yeah, do you really need a pickaxe when you go to the bathroom?
Yeah,
I don't know.
A sawzall,
Exactly.
It's
I mean that the home back in Homa. It's like I think it's around us, and I know Don's really working on doing another dig out there and out in the fields and that kind of thing, hoping to come up with something. But I mean, there's still some stuff out there. I have no doubt.
A tweet just came in from a spiritual warrior, and he says he's talking about your car. This looks like the loudest thing you would ever ride in. Can you address that? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's all electric, completely electric. So it's a big blow dryer. So no, it's not really it's not noisy at all.
And prototypes yet? Where are you in
past the 3D model stages, model computer components, those kind of things, software. A lot of the technicals are completely done. Right now, if I can give my little sales spiel.
Sure.
Anybody can go on my little campaign. Even $1 makes a huge difference. Because not only does that dollar help out the campaign getting this thing going forward, but along with that, you can leave a comment. And I need help. I need people to go in there, say what they think. I've had a lot of very positive people tell me about it, but they actually need to go online to, that's how it works. You get good comments, a lot of people touch it, it goes up the rankings, and that's how you get these things to work. And like I said, there's my sales spiel, but no, it's close. Right now, if I was able to raise the money, my absolute goal is by December of this year, we'd be doing mad testing, just for one big reason why I want to make it by December. And that simply is I want to make the Back to the Future little theme right.
Ooh, nice call.
That's all it is. I want to be able to say that. I mean, there's similar things out there. There's airplanes with folding wings and helicopters on wheels, those kind of things. But those aren't what at least I never dreamt of as a kid. A flying car is something. It's small. You get in, you fly out. You don't go to the airport or a big field and a runway to use it. It's like, no, this is something that almost you wrap around yourself and you take off, and that's what this is.
Do you have a bill of materials cost yet? Do you have a final cost idea of what this would cost? Me.
The first ones made are going to be in the six-figure range, a little over $100,000.
That's it?
But yeah. Oh, well, the good thing about this design, about where we're pretty much everything in this car is being manufactured. Nothing's off the shelf, or very little is off the shelf. So a lot of the money has been already spent and over the time in the engineering behind it. It's almost completely made out of carbon fiber. With 3D technology, I mean, using some large format printers, I can create the molds. I have a company ready to lay up the body panels, lay up the frame, everything. The biggest, most complex item is that main rotor, and right now that's a pretty expensive item. But it's like anything else, when this thing goes, the price could easily get down to the point where it's a typical, modern car price.
Did this get downloaded from an alien? Come on, Jesse. Where'd you get
There's the story. There's the story. People always kidded me, says, that's so much like a UFO. They must have, beamed this in your head. I was like, yeah, whatever. But I was talking to a gentleman. He's a brilliant physicist, and he's part of the space program. And we were talking on about all these different processes and kind of what's kind of going on in the world today, some interesting things. And he said, stop right there. We stopped for a moment, and he just, as clearly and succinctly as he said, do you think that you're being helped? Basically meaning there's something else out there.
Yeah, I mean, I look at that's exactly what I'm thinking.
And I kind of came down to the point where I thought, would I know if I was?
Probably not.
Exactly, and it's over the years, my wife's a big proponent of this. Is people have come along that are fairly knowledgeable, really smart people, and they've kind of put it down. They said, at Roswell, your family being involved is not an accident. that things happen for reasons. Your grandfather was supposed to be the person that was out there in that field that day. It's supposed to be the way it's supposed to be. And I have a hard time arguing with that.
With when I look at this car, a couple things come to mind. First thing is, have you thought about the legalities of it? As far as, do you need a pilot's license? Do you just need a driver's license? Have you addressed that?
Yeah, it's basically the weight of an ultralight. So you wouldn't have to have a pilot's license per se to be able to use this, and it's like I said, it's controlled just like a car. I haven't brought that up yet, but the configuration it is right now, it could be licensed as a ultralight, it could be insured as an ultralight, those kind of things. Now, part of the purpose, working with the FAA, is to open that up. Obviously, that middle ground does not exist yet. There is not such a thing as a flying car that's licensed with the FAA. Soon enough, there will be. But that part of what I'm doing is to create that. Half the time I go out and talk about this thing, we talk about how at some point there's going to have to be some kind of an aerial corridor system set up, so you can go through urban areas, like so where you can get to work or fly to a parkade and those things. And that's just, it's a matter of time. Those will happen. And you know what's going to happen when, as soon as there's going to have to be some safety regulations coming aboard, a whole slew of regulations will be created. It's not there yet. We're a little bit ahead of the time right now.
How fast can this go?
If you had the rotors fixed so they weren't rotatable, and you were banking through the turns and that kind of thing, you could. I mean, if you're talking in like miles per hour, if you want to say something like that, there's no reason why you couldn't be approaching about 130 miles an hour fairly easily. Not designed for that. My concept, the whole idea behind this, is something that's fairly mundane, doesn't fly much higher than the power lines, and 35 or 40 miles an hour as a crow flies.
So I want a traffic ticket. That's what I want. I want to get a speeding ticket in this thing. How would I get a speeding ticket?
I have no idea. At this point, you couldn't. I mean, there's so little. Like I said, it's been in science fiction for decades. Since really the 50s, it kind of came out as a big deal. But there's nothing gone this way or done this way. The FAA has very little to do with it. It's just, like I said, we're all poised. Everything's poised to start going forward, but nobody's spending the money on regulation or even how to look at this industry yet.
Yeah, how would you get pulled over?
You would. I mean, a helicopter would have to try to push it down. I
yeah,
guess,
exactly. How would you get pulled over, man? It's just rebel without a cause, man.
Well, and like part of this, right? I try like the idea of Typhoon F standing for freedom, is like, can you imagine you're at your house and you look across the way and there's a mountainside over there and a field on that mountainside. Pack a lunch, go sit in that field. A stream, fly up that stream, be 20 feet out of the water and bank through I mean, it's so, we're so stuck in the way our system is right now as far as our mode of transportation, our locomotion. And this would just open the world up. It'd be just amazing. Like Seattle, of course, I'm on this direction. You wouldn't have to take ferries to get from the islands out to the city.
Right.
Just go right over the water.
Or the Lake Washington Bridge.
There, yeah.
You laugh. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Traffic. I've had an innumerable people that are more from your area saying, if I could just skip over the highway, I could be working 5 minutes rather than an hour and a half.
Well,
I want one bad.
Yes, and every time that I go to Seattle and I deal with the traffic up there, LA is it's probably the worst. It really is. But then you go experience Seattle traffic. Seattle traffic is probably as brutal, if not more brutal at times, than the 405 and the 101 at rush hour down here.
Yes, it's almost suicidal. I agree.
I don't get it. I don't get it. And that whole carpool lane going from the left side to the right side. I don't get that. I don't get Seattle traffic. Hey, Jesse, say hi to Donna. Donna, say hi to Jesse Marcel.
Hello, Donna.
Hi, Jesse. Hi, Debbie.
How are you, young lady?
Donna calling in. I just want to say I really love the design of your vehicle.
Oh, thank you.
But in 1961, I was in a flying car. I was only 9 years old.
Okay. Say what? What?
It was the second plane I had ever been in.
Uh-huh.
If you can ever get a hold of it, there was a Bob Cummings show. He actually had a flying car. It was a little vehicle. It was, it could hold 4 people.
Uh-huh.
You had to fix the wings on it and fix the tail on it. And it was like a regular car normally. And you'd go along and take off and fly. And it was, like I said, it was the second time I'd ever been up in a plane. I was so fascinated with it. And I went to school with this man, Mr. Bergen, and he actually knew the man that took care of Bob Cummings' flying cars. And that's how I got the chance to fly in it.
And, let me ask you
this. I
this.
have been waiting for 50
Yes.
plus years. And I am hoping that you get this up and going before I'm gone, okay?
Well, hey, Donna.
Because your design is so marvelous. I just want to say that.
Well, thank you.
I would not be afraid to fly in it.
Donna, don't hang up. Don't leave us. I have a couple of questions for you. When when you rode in that, and that's the one that the wings had to be added to it, the tail had to be added to it, but it was like a car, right?
It was a car. The wings were folded back.
Right.
And then you fold the tail up out of the way.
Okay. Now, did that feel like the future? Did it feel like a flying car, or was it more like a gimmick? I mean, it wouldn't be something that you would, drive in your neighborhood. You know what I mean?
Oh, actually, they did.
Well, I understand that.
In Fresno, see, this is what people don't understand. In Fresno, you flew to your house. They had their own hangars.
Right. But would you...
And this was a car that they used in those houses.
But do you think it was more of like a gimmick as opposed to what you're looking at here with Jesse's design, which is a flying car? It's not a car with folding wings. This is an actual flying car. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, the thing that I got from the one in the 50s and 60s is you had to have a lot of money.
And a pilot's license.
They flew because they didn't want to be down with the pedestrians.
I'm looking at the picture of it right here. Bob just tweeted it. And again,
Fuga, is that what it is?
Yeah, I'm looking at it here. Bob Cummings right here with his car. See, and the thing is, it's cool. It's great. I would have loved to have owned one of these, and I'm sure it was fun, but it's still got the gimmick side of it. It's not a flying car. It's a flying car. You know what I mean? And where
it's not a flying vehicle, it's a flying car.
Yeah, Donna, bust my chops. Yes, that's what I was trying to say.
It's a flying vehicle. So that's the big thing. And it looks very stable.
It does look stable.
The one thing I remember about that car is that if a good wind came along, you really got to rocking.
You actually flew in Bob Cummings. This is incredible.
Well, no, it wasn't Bob Cummings' car. There was a man that took care of his cars, his mechanic.
Uh-huh.
He had 4 of them. I can't say that the one I was in was actually Bob Cummings.
Oh, no, that's not what I mean. That's not what I mean. Yeah, because Bob Cummings was an actor. Yeah, I get you. I understand. I'm referencing in my own mind's eye that car being called the Bob Cummings car because we always connected Bob Cummings to that car. That's what I meant to say.
Oh, sure, yes. It was the same one. I mean, same model.
Man, you have done it all, Donna.
It wasn't the same one. It was the same model.
Well,
you mentioned, I was born and raised in California. What can I say?
There you go.
I used to go to L.A. and San Francisco my whole life.
That's just incredible. And the one thing that you probably remember about the experience, did you feel safe in that?
Well, I felt safe while we were up in the air.
Right.
But like I said, when you came down and you were getting buffeted, you didn't feel so safe.
Donna, all the best. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great story.
You're welcome, and you have a good time. And Jesse, great luck with that. Get
Thank
it
you
out
very
there,
much.
please.
It is the priority. I'm working on it. Things are really working out pretty good so far. So, but like where she mentioned too is you have the stability. At least like where this is. Of course, back in that time, you didn't have things like GPS. But like the computer system on this, like this car, if you're up there, say like if you're 30 feet in the air or whatever, and something's going on, you're getting buffeted, or you're not quite in control, you would simply let go of the controls, and the car would would go to a steady hover, and then the GPS is locked in the computer would keep it over a specific point too. So there's a lot of protocols that just simply weren't available back then that are today.
Yeah, exactly. I'm thinking drone, quadcopter technology.
Exactly.
Portland, Oregon, calling in. Who's calling?
Not Portland, Oregon, but it's Tammy.
Hi, Tammy. How are you?
I'm great, Jimmy. Hey, Jesse, I have a question, and I know this it kind of might be strange. In '84, I'm going to go back to the triangle aircraft with him, Jimmy. They had triangle planes on a military base during a great big military celebration that could hover. I'm looking at your car plane, and you have similar engines to that. Now, you just mentioned with the other call that it can hover. How is the takeoff? Do you go straight up and then off, or do you have to drive it down the runway and go up?
No, straight up. Straight up.
Okay. Remember this, size 6, 36-inch waist. I would need a helmet and some gloves, and I will go with you.
Well, we're going to be testing in a hangar to start out with, so come on. Well, like I said, I'm not quite sure exactly where you are, but I am actually. Our whole family is going to be moving out of Spokane into Portland, just because some of the industrial area will make it more. It'll make it easier for me to create this car. So we're changing our entire lives to make sure this happens.
I have friends with a private airport. If you ever need to holler at me.
Leave Jimmy your number, sure.
Jimmy, you've got my number, right?
Yes, I do. Done and done. Thank you, Tammy.
Jesse. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night. All right, let's just go straight to the next call. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to Jesse Marcel. Who's calling?
Stryker.
It's who?
Stryker.
Stryker, how are you?
Stryker.
We're working it. A little background. That was Mo Taylor's design on that Cummings aircraft.
Oh, that's right, Taylor. Yes, you are correct. See, look,
Yeah.
my brain works slowly sometimes.
Roger that. I've been designing and building airplanes all my life, and I got a couple little points. One thing is insurance. We've hit a wall with the insurance industry because, they just can't get behind the idea. You've got a rollable vehicle, generally, and an aircraft, and the combination dealing with the FAA and the insurance companies, you wouldn't believe the red tape. But more power to you in that regard. And speaking of power, one quick question, battery capability. Working with LiPos, so on and so forth, what are you anticipating for battery storage? And, hey, look, if you need a hand, there's an old airman out here that knows his stuff with this stuff.
I would, again, pass on your number. The whole idea, if you look at the design, the cockpit's actually a tube. It's a cylinder that passes through the center rotor. At the bottom of that, the cylinder that you're sitting on top of would be the compartment that holds the batteries. And it's just a basis of how thick. And then you actually have a room to expand. It doesn't have to stay the same as diameter as the cylinder that passes through the rotor, and not affect the airflow to the point where it's going to anyway cause too much trouble. But so it's.
I think check one. You're driving the tips in deference to driving the hub, correct? As the main rotor.
I was going to ask the same question. Jesse, what he's asking is, since there's no engine in the middle, so the tips on the blades of the main rotor, they're magnetic, and that's where the drive comes from. That's the motor is on the outside.
Yeah, because it's funny because I mean a ducted fan rotor and an inline runner rotor, which is the kind of motor this is, they're all the same term. So I always call so the central rotor is actually a fan. The fan is actually magnetic, and that acts as the rotor in an in-runner motor, where the surrounding bodywork contains the stator that causes the rotor to spin.
Right. So basically, what you're dealing with is an outrunner motor configuration, correct?
Well, it's actually an in-runner, because in an outrunner the outside spins, and an in-runner the inside spins. So the in-runner, so it's it's the same kind of philosophy. It's basically like an in-runner motor, in-runner wireless motor.
All right.
Exactly, and and you're right, and it does. Yeah, the four corner fans are the ones that provide direction. Of course, if you tilt the nose down, the thrust from the vector thrust from the central rotor is going to change that a little bit. But yes, in general, the corner fans are rotatable on different on two different planes. So that's how you get that change.
I know this question is going to. Thank you for the call.
Roger that. You have a good day. Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you.
Nice talking to you.
One of the questions is going to come up, so I might as well jump in and do it first. What kind of flight time are we looking at?
This is the way it is. With about 300 pounds of batteries, it's easiest to equate it in batteries or in weight, you get about a 20-minute flight. Now, that doesn't sound much, but that's only for our testing purposes. And part of the structure of the vehicle, because just if you can imagine, if I can bring out like a Tesla, the Tesla electric cars, they have a Tesla that has about 920 horsepower divided by 4 motors. Those motors are about a foot in diameter, about 2 feet long. That runs the identical principle of the motor that's in this, or they're creating in this, except now it's 10 feet in diameter. So if you can imagine the unbelievable leverage you have by powering the rotor from the outside edge rather than trying to power it from the center of it, the axis of it.
Sure.
You could actually get far more horsepower that it would be safe to put into that fan, basically, or created with a fan. So, in a long way, it could handle a lot more batteries for a longer flight. It's just at this point, it's to keep it lightweight and that kind of thing is by using those batteries like that. Now, part of the idea too that I've actually been in communication is to convert it into a fuel cell.
That's another good idea, but I'm gonna put something else out there.
Please.
Okay, you ready?
Uh-huh.
Okay, the royalty checks you're going to send to Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. This is what I would do looking at this. You've got so much surface area there. Mm-hmm. Dude, make some of the body out of solar panels.
You know, if you could push enough energy into the solar, it's like there is one thing is, you know, when the center rotor spins down a little bit, you can actually put energy back into the batteries, kind of similar to hitting the brakes on a Prius.
Yes.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. So that's there. Now there is some interesting technology where you almost be able to paint on a surface.
Bingo.
Actually a solar cell.
Yes.
And definitely that would be a possibility. And like this, I mean, there's some surface area. It's the wings themselves, like they do have the shape. They do create a lift themselves in a forward motion. It's not really the principle that causes the thing to go through the air,
right?
But it will add to it at forward speeds. And like the Stryker that was on before, I want to bring back. I've been doing the same thing with insurance. The big difference is that this is not this is a personal air vehicle, and we're trying, and that's the delineation is this isn't meant to be on the road, so we don't have to worry about it crash testing or that kind of thing, or passing rules. You know, you're not going to rear end a car or get hit by a car. This is going to fly above the traffic all the time. So in a sense, it alleviates some of the problems of it's a little easier for people to understand. They don't might understand how it works, but they understand the principle anyway.
Now, one other question that I have, and again, man, this is my brain.
Uh-huh.
If you want to fly with a partner, you want to enjoy it with somebody else. There's if you're flying by yourself, you're going to dig it only for so long. All right, the first 5 minutes. And then you get your yayas out, and now you need to be with somebody else to share the excitement. If you doubled on this, would you have to be tandem to sit directly over the center of the rotor, or could you sit side by side and not affect the stability when you are riding alone and have the weight to one side?
Nope, side by side would be just fine. In fact, when you think about it, if you put two weights inside of a cylinder, if they're side by side or front and back, they're still in line. It's still doing the exact same thing. But no, it's not a problem at all. It'd be side
you're
by side.
right. You're right. You're smarter than me. Check out the big brain on Jesse.
No, it's not. It just, part of the reason why I designed it the way I did is one thing is obviously your center mass actually penetrates the main rotor. So no matter what that weight is, it's going to be over that center. So, obviously if you have a person that weighs 80 pounds or weighs 300 pounds, their weight's going to be all direction. It's not going to change the balance of the aircraft. Same with the batteries, the reason why they're there. But two people about the center point, it's not going to, you're talking about, the difference in the, side by side, where one person's going to weigh a little more than the other side. The rotatable fans can take up, that is such a minuscule change in the balance of the vehicle that the computer will automatically adjust for that to keep the thing level. So it really have very little effect. And as far as a thrust necessary, the way it is, it could actually be enough to lift two adults. It's just for the sake of testing purposes, easier to do one at the first time. But we can move right from this prototype. And then, obviously, the regulations, the government, that kind of thing, we got to pass it through. But at least on some level, we could move into a production vehicle that someone could buy fairly fast.
Well, and you know what you have with this, as opposed to those European, flying cars that have been coming out lately, and we've all seen those, and there's three or four that have popped up in the last year. Those don't look cool. They don't. You're not going to. The wow factor is there. Okay, we're getting close, but they don't look cool. I don't want to go and fly around. I'm not going to spend, $250,000 on something like that. I want something that reminds me of the Jetsons. I want something that looks like the future. That is a flying car, and that's what I get out of this when I'm looking at this, dude. It looks cool. It looks cool. It looks like this is what you want to show off to your buddies.
It looks sexy. No, it is. It's like a Ferrari. It has that look to it. It has that feeling that it's cool.
How long have you been? This design didn't fall out of the sky. You started talking to me about this a year ago. How long have you been working on this? I kept it secret, but
well, if I can go through it and not sound too crazy, about 25 years ago, I was working on what's basically a process, a machine that will trick gravity to create a vectored force instead of just being up and down, but actually create a vectored force that goes sideways. It splits gravitational force. Long way, put it short, as you create inertia, which is static, but in a vector direction, so you create a force. So if you can picture that, I wanted to create a base where I could it'd be a sphere that would be placed in the vehicle. Now it couldn't lift it, but it could push it or it could pull it. And the whole idea behind a flying car for me was to be able to create and actually test out this technology that doesn't really exist yet. So it started out as being a test bed. But if you're gonna have a test bed, it might as well look cool. And that's just kind of where it went.
and how long has this initial what we see here, this design? How long has this been on the drawing board and in development?
This right here, where it's in this form, probably 8 months.
8 months?
Yeah, probably about
now,
8 months.
You just said 25 years ago, Jesse. You're 26 years old. so you've been working on this since you were 2?
Yeah, well, I'm 25, 26, give or take 2 decades. But it's just it's like I said, it's all, I've dealt a lot with working on machines, fluid dynamics, trying to create this, and I've been successful. So it's been on the drawing board for decades. It's just been in this form, pretty much in my head in the last couple of years, on paper a year ago, actually, where it's been modeled, a little less than a year ago, and then we've been prototyping all the pieces after that.
Yeah, it looks well thought out. It looks very mature. Now, another question. I'm looking at the shot in the garage, right? The white one in the garage. How are you going to get that out of the garage? Is it because this is hovering in the air here? Are there 4 wheels underneath that drop out so you can like push it out of the garage?
Yeah,
I mean, how are you maneuvering this around when you're not necessarily flying or in the car?
The four corner winglets, the downward portion of the wings, in the bottom of those would have a very, very simple like a wheel, a rotatable wheel on a little very simple air suspension. So it could freewheel on those. So you could push it yourself. On the other side, where kind of the idea would be, you could turn on the corner rotatable fans, and you could use those to power yourself out of the garage before you would engage the main fan. The main fan is going to create a lot of air,
right?
But the corner fans, they wouldn't have to be turned on. They wouldn't have to go that fast, and that kind of thing, to provide enough power to propel you out of the garage.
So you could actually park it, and you could raise your garage door opener, pop that open, land it, and turn off the main fan, and cruise into your garage and not blow stuff all over the place.
Exactly. I mean, it'd be more, obviously, it'd be a little bit windy, but it'd be pretty protracted. You could use the back fans, as you're pulling into the garage. So if there's disruptive air, it's more on the outside of the garage, and as soon as you're in, you'd turn it off and you'd be good to go. You plug it in the wall, and that's it.
What about brakes? Because Rita, she'd drive that thing right into the back of the garage. So are there brakes on these wheels? Is there a way to stop it?
It actually, you create more force by reducing by changing the direction of the rotation of the rotors in the corners. So instead of being rear facing, blowing wind one way, just reverse the direction so they blow in forward, and it cause you to stop.
Jesse, you think your son could control that? No, man, you need some brakes.
It's all going to be now. As far as the and this is still in the planning stage.
Sure,
it's possible to create more. Obviously, it would be pretty simple. More of a suspension where you created something that was very lightweight, and you had actually a small motor that powered the wheels to wheel you in and out with the fans, and that's all a possibility. And that'll come out more in testing what the best way to do that is.
Right.
But it's all right now. I'm trying to keep it as absolutely simple as possible, as few moving parts as possible, the less things to go wrong, kind of thing. But yeah, you don't know. We'll see where it goes. I know the technology that this will fly. There's no question about it.
Oh, I got the best question yet.
Oh, go
Dennis just sent this in. Dennis, spot on the money, my brother. How do you get in and out of this thing without damaging the fan?
It's going to take a little bit. The fan on each side of the cockpit, let's say, is about 3 feet. So what there's going to be, and you don't see it there's going to be like a carbon fiber netting that goes over the top of the rotor, and there's going to be a place where you can step on that and get into it. Because when you figure it sits on the ground, that corner rotor fan is only about a foot in the air. So you're going to put one step on. There's going to be like a little place where you put your foot, and you're going to step into the cockpit, and it'll open like a clamshell.
Gotcha. So, and
you can't see for that. The pictures don't depict that. That's how it works.
Falling into the fan and chopping off your legs is not going to be possible.
There's a double system. There's a system set up where you actually would have to turn two handles, and you have to have a proximity key. It's run by a proximity key. So there's quite a few adjustments have to be made along the way before it even be possible for it to turn on. It's going to not only do you have to push the buttons, let's say, it also detects you that you're in the cockpit for one thing, and there's nothing around it either for it to turn on. So there's lots of safety protocols.
Right. Canopy closed, fan runs. Canopy
Exactly.
Opens, fan shuts off.
Not going to be a chance of it turning. Exactly.
Right. I got you. And then so you're going to have a small screen or a screen, one that's not going to interfere with the air or the induction.
Exactly.
But will prevent you from falling in. Now,
yeah, you'll step on it, exactly.
What about birds? What about flying critters?
It's like anything else. The fans are made out of carbon fiber. So if you went through a flock of ducks and they got sucked through the rotor, it wouldn't be a good thing. It's like it's like anything else, like an airplane. I said they can suck in a bird like this. If you went and a duck got thrown through the main rotor, it's going to cause an imbalance. It's going to make it shake, but it's not going to tear the thing apart or something like that. So it wouldn't be a comfortable experience, but it wouldn't cause you to drop out of the sky or something.
Is there also going to be the same type of screens on the four corners? So nobody could go up and like stick their hand in there, or a child.
Well, they're going to be like in a basket. So yes, the way the pictures when they're rotatable, because the way, like, again, the test version is actually powered by a motor within the middle. The actual production model, the corners are actually their own motors, just like the center rotating fan. So it's like a little version of that. So it'll be.
Really? So you're going to do the same?
Yeah, it'll all be the same.
Man, this is fantastic. I haven't been this excited about something in a long time. It's very, very cool, Jesse. And I've been thinking about this all year. I'm glad to finally get you on that we can talk about it.
Yes.
Yeah, very, very, very cool. And I do think it was downloaded. So just so you know.
Some people have thought, and maybe it was. I don't know. I like to think it was that good that it was, but I don't know.
Hey, are you going to Contact this year?
Yeah, can't wait for it. Yep, coming up in May.
All right, my brother, we're going to do it. Jesse Marcel, everybody, Contact in the Desert. Don't forget. Are you speaking at Contact, or are you hanging out? What are you going to do?
I think they have me in speaking 3 times and maybe sitting on a board.
Yeah, you know what? They don't play around. If you're going to come up and do one thing, they're going to put you to work.
Yeah, you don't get breathing room. I know that, but it's great. What a bunch of great people, though.
Yeah, I think they have me waiting tables on Sunday.
Exactly.
All right, Jesse, thank you so much. We'll see you at Contact in the Desert, May 29th. Excited about it, May 29th through the 31st. Of course, you can go to Jesse's website. You can go to my website and click on Contact in the Desert. Everybody else is speaking, and accommodations and all of that stuff is there. Jesse, thank you so much, my friend. Always great talking to you.
All right, you guys take care.
You got it. Jesse Marcel, everybody. Thank you, Jess. Contact in the Desert, May 29th through the 31st. Do go to airbornemotors.com. It is with an E, airbornemotors.com. And check out these fantastic illustrations. Of course, Indiegogo is there. And then Jesse's got a couple of future projects that he's going to be working with truthfunders.com. Thank you so much, Jesse. With that, wow, what a night here on Fade to Black. Started off with our good friend Erich von Daniken, live from Switzerland. Wrapped it up with a surprise visit from Jesse Marcel. Thanks for all of the phone calls. Man, what a night. My brain is fried. Thank you, Fadernauts. And tomorrow night, don't forget, it is Fader Night, taking your calls all night. You got to love Fader Night. Thursday night, best night of the week. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Kamarian. Show is produced by Hilton J. Palm and Mark D. Kovar. LJ3, Renee, and Jonas. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Fadey by Dale. Webmaster is Method of Signaling. Music by Doug Aldrich. Intro by Spaceboy. SpaceboyMusic.com. Have you heard Spaceboy's new song? Go to Truth Funders. Check it out. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. I am your host, Jimmy Church. This is Bespoke Radio for the masses. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Facebook. Go to YouTube and subscribe. All right, that is it. Be safe. I am out of here.